Hey, this is Yuri Lowenthal. I play Peter Parker in Spider-Man and PS4 Spider-Man. And when I'm not swinging around the city, saving it from crime, I'm listening to the Raw Dogs podcast. They talk about video games and beer, two things that I like very much. So, check them out.
Hey guys,
Hey man,
how's it going?
good.
I'm doing all right. Very tired.
Very tired. You had a long day today.
Yes, I did. Long day tomorrow, too.
Her name's Marissa.
Oh,
Cut that, please.
That has been cut. We were referring to the fact that they're short a cheese man, and now
Yes.
Dylan is working twice as hard cheese man now.
yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even want to go in today. It's fine. I'm only working there until the 30th, so
I was supposed to have the day off. You sound like a Kevin Smith sequel.
honestly. Yeah, and here's the part where I say something about Star Wars. Mm-hmm. The end.
Oh,
He mentioned Star Wars.
He said it in the movie.
He said it in the movie. Hey everybody, welcome to Raw
Sorry,
Dogs.
Kevin Smith, you're fine.
Kevin Smith, if you're listening to this, you're okay. I'll say that much. Welcome to Raw Dogs, everybody. This is Raw Dogs episode 49.
nice.
Yes, we are your favorite deep dive video game and drinking podcast. Before we move any further forward, special thanks to our executive producers from our Patreon page. We have Ryan Redfield, Kip Kennedy, Brian Barry Burton, and Tyrant Keller.
How long did you spend thinking of those today?
30 seconds.
That's it?
Nice.
Maybe a
Not
minute.
bad.
Yeah, my name is Brad. You know me as the research doer and that guy.
Well, across from you is me, Dylan, and you know me as the cool one, kind of the sexy one.
Yep.
If you're not picturing me in a leather jacket, you're wrong.
Unless Tom's here. Tom's the sexy one,
Yeah.
and Tom is here.
Your leather jacket wears leather
Tom-
jackets.
I don't know. I saw him dancing up on stage, trotting his stuff, and I don't know if I agree with the green tie.
Well, there's a lot of things I don't agree about Tom's wardrobe. A man his age in shorts those tiny.
Oh,
Yeah.
gave me the vapors.
All I know is when we check him into the home, they're not going to allow him to wear those. But he has a couple
Yeah.
years, left. So who's this fellow over here?
It's me, Dominic. I'm back. The Resident Evil guy.
The cute one.
Yeah.
You're like the bad boy of the group.
Oh yeah, you driving my scooter
No,
around
I'm the
town
cool
like
one
nobody's
and
business.
I'm the cool one and the bad dude.
I do machines.
You do machines.
Yep.
Dom's the cutie pie who all the younger girls swoon over.
And Tom is April O'Neil. Tom couldn't be here today. Today, though, we are talking about a video game that came out recently. Not too recently, but came out this year called Resident Evil Village.
I would say that's recent.
The 8th numbered title, although they don't really have they kind of have the number in the title, but they don't really want to play it up because they were afraid, oh, it's a sequel. No one will play it if they haven't played the first 7, which I haven't played a few of them. But
That's also dumb.
it's so dumb.
yeah.
Why would I watch Star Wars 7? I haven't seen Star Wars 6.
It's
Though I
you
haven't
don't.
seen those, yeah.
That's like the hallmark of these Resident Evil games now is that there isn't much you need to know about the previous ones. They try to make them very solitary.
And Dylan, you were the first one to play this game. You borrowed it from Tom, I believe.
Yeah, I did.
And what were your initial thoughts going into playing the game? Like, where did you think this was going to go after playing 7?
I knew pretty much right off the bat that this one was going to be more action focused. This just seems to be the trend. You start off with something like Resident Evil 7, then it becomes a little less grounded, a little more crazy. I was worried about that because I don't necessarily want like big action set pieces and it's
Boulder
not
punching
scary.
madness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I went into this. Hesitant. I was never going to buy it. Thank you, Tom, for buying it and
Thank you, Tom, for buying it.
pouring it out to us. And I started playing it, and at first I did not like this.
Yeah.
It does not start out well. I would say once you get past that first wave of infected villagers, the game opens up, and it becomes probably my top 5 games of the year.
So you're pretty hot on the game.
I think it's a wonderful video game.
Okay. I absolutely I love the game as well. I thought there was a few pacing issues maybe here and there.
Yeah. We'll be talking about that.
This does have the unique experience of where, 7 was extremely standalone. And it wasn't until the very end of the game where they're like, remember this Chris guy? He's back. But otherwise, 7 was almost completely standalone. It's like mold and not virus. It's a difference. But this one, they're like, we're going to continue the tale of Ethan and Ethan Winters. Oh, I have
The most interesting protagonist in the world.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on Ethan.
Oh, we'll be talking Ethan. We'll be talking werewolf men who aren't werewolves.
But yes, I love the game. I beat it normal mode, went right back in, beat it hard mode, went right back in, and then beat it Village of Shadows mode. And I've gone through a couple rounds on Mercenaries as well. So
Wow.
I mean, going into the more difficult modes isn't that tough because you unlock like infinite ammo and like better guns. And once you have infinite ammo on Chris's assault rifle, hard mode becomes a joke. And then you get like one of the fully upgraded magnums and you can like 10-shot most bosses in Village of Shadows even.
Dang.
And infinite ammo. So I did that in almost like 3 hours and 55 minutes is my game time there, I think. But Dom, you most recently just played this game. You just played it.
Yeah, I just beat it like 2 days ago. It's good. I play these games for the ridiculous lore that goes into them.
Do you have new insights for us today?
This probably.
Okay.
It depends on which documents you picked up and read.
The documents.
Because how I feel about
Reading.
those fucking documents, man.
I like that. I got this new
Jealous
Resident Evil.
that you can do it.
This Resident Evil 7 book I got it just because document file.
Yeah. Did you see my face when I moved the game and it said document file? I went.
He immediately read the whole book
Yeah.
right in front of us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Speed reader.
But yeah, I had a great time with this game. I agree there are some pacing issues with it, but once you get past like the castle bit, it kind of just flies by.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really. So
Well, yeah, the castle is a pretty big chunk of the beginning of the game, and it's definitely, you can tell there's the before and the after, and they're like, okay, now you can do the rest of the experience. But the castle was very much what they hyped. If you looked
People
at
thought
promotional
that was gonna be the
materials,
full thing.
if you looked at promotional materials, you just saw Mommy. You saw a big old Lady Dimitrescu, and
Mommy.
it wasn't Tyrant, it wasn't Mr. X, it wasn't Nemesis, it was big old lady. And people loved her. Resident Evil Village released May 7th, 2021 for the Windows, PS4, 5, Stadia, Xbox One, and Series X and S. Directed by Morimasa Soto, who was involved in 7, designer Isamu Hara, game designer for 7, and way back with Resident Evil 0.
Yikes.
Writer Anthony Johnston was the writer of the Dead Space series and Shadow of Mordor.
Honestly, this kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and this definitely has a lot of DNA from Resident Evil 4 in it as well. It feels like 7 and 4 kind of had a baby.
yeah, it sucked Resident Evil 4's dick real hard throughout the entire
European
thing.
village, daylight.
Yeah, the bit where you talk to the Duke, I'm sure we'll get on about him, and he.
What are you buying?
And then he goes, "That's a friend of mine used to say that." And you're like, "Okay, I get it."
A friend of mine always used
Yeah.
to say that. So this began development on August 8th, 2016, while 7 was still about a year and a half out from release.
No shit.
Yeah, heavily based on RE4.
Which means 9 is probably
It's around the
somewhat
corner.
developed.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot of Resident Evil goodness. Resident Evil stuff coming. But I'm not sure if it's goodness, but they sought to create a balance of combat, exploration, and puzzle solving. Since 7 was successful, they decided to have it be a direct sequel with Ethan Winters as the protagonist. And they claim that Village allowed them to create a more open world style Village. So Ethan Winters, I liked him enough in 7. He doesn't have a big personality other than find Mia, and he talks to himself a lot. Not as much in 7. In 8, it was very noticeable that he constantly like, what the hell? Who are you? And
they really tried.
well, in 8, they do a great thing with Ethan where he becomes like fake badass. Like he tries to sound badass at things.
Oh yeah, it's so dumb.
And it never lands. It's like, you suck. He doesn't know how to be clever with his like his comebacks, and it's so funny every time.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. If we were in these games, that would be us.
Oh yeah.
That like he's a lot of video game main characters are ciphers for the audience to kind of put themselves in.
Yeah.
And I think that was the main intention in 7 especially, because they made him the most bland guy, but you can understand his want and desire to find his wife. In this in 8,
but he's you can more like blindly put yourself into him though in 7, whereas 8,
yeah.
What the hell? Where am I? What was that? It's like
Chris?
It was clearly a zombie or something. Like you've been fighting molded bathtub monsters. Why are you surprised anymore?
I was playing this game and someone was there with me, and I just said, he's seen worse shit than this.
Yeah.
Remember the big eyeball monster you fought? I do.
Remember
I did it.
The ladybug monster?
Yeah. Scary shit. I don't think quote unquote werewolves are going to freak you out.
What's happening? Not me again.
Why? Why do people keep dying?
That's almost a direct quote. Yeah.
It's a good question. And I had to ask myself, why do people keep dying around you, dude?
And yeah, well, he becomes in 7, he was like, who's Ethan Winters? But like even when the promotional materials, everyone's like, Ethan Winters, Mr. Winters, I presume. It's like, how did he become a legend in this European village? You find out through the course of the game, but it's like, oh, Ethan is extremely important now, and we don't know why. I was surprised when the game picks up. They're just allowed to live together and have a family. Like, no. If you're involved, possibly like mold infected, you're going to be like watched considerably, especially Mia, who was very much infected. They're like, no, you guys can just, you got your vaccines.
Yeah.
You're good to bone. You got to live in this house, though. And you have to go to this part of Europe. Like, okay, we'll play by the rules. But it's very weird to me
Honestly, it's not a bad deal. Their house was very nice.
The reason that wasn't even the reason they went there. It was because Mia used to work for the Connections, and they had to fly her to the other side of the world in order for them to not follow her and like get, because she knows shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Someone
Chris
would be
took
after
her to protect her. It wasn't even like a quarantine thing.
Yeah, to me, it just seems at this point of Chris Redfield's career, he's like, just kill her. Like, let's just not risk any more shenanigans. And Ethan, too. Well, let's just get rid of that guy. But so there was a couple of demos released for this game. And like I mentioned, the promotion pimped out Lady Dimitrescu like real hard. One thing I really, really appreciate that they did, these demos and the trailers almost exclusively showed the first like 3 hours of the game. It just showed the opening and it showed the castle experience with Dimitrescu.
Can you
I'm
imagine?
say that wrong every time, but
It's fine.
yeah.
Can you imagine if they had shown any part of the dollhouse thing?
Dude.
I think that would have turned people off.
Oh my God, that dollhouse sequence is like one of my favorite parts of the game
It's
in
so
a big
good.
way. And I like the Moreau stuff too, because I do like Lovecraftian and nautical horror. All that stuff is great.
Interesting boss battle too. Yeah, a lot of parts worked about that.
And imagine how much more disappointing it would have been if you watch the trailer and they're like, the Four Lords, we got Fish Guy, and we got Creepy Doll Lady. But they don't. They don't hype it up like
No.
Like they did with Lady Dimitrescu.
who is like you get the impression that she will be Nemesis or Mr. X, and to a small extent she is, but only for a part of the game. And this
Honestly, not too much though.
Not nearly as
I
good.
barely ran into her.
well, if you even have a little idea of what you're doing, she's very easy to get away from. Whereas I just remembered like Mr. X chasing me in Resident Evil 2 the other day, and it made me anxious.
Yeah.
You can be at the other end of the police station. You just hear those big fucking footsteps walking fast. I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like,
Right.
In Dimitrescu, you can just run around the table like, you can't catch me, can't catch me.
Sometimes she can though.
Sometimes she can. Village of Shadows, she's kind of scarier because she will like one shot you pretty hard. But
One thing I think I understand about her AI design that I think I kind of nailed is I think they've been having troubles reproducing that Mr. X kind of feel, because you can, when you're seeing something in third person, you can see a lot more around you.
Mm-hmm.
This game could benefit from VR like crazy.
which I don't think is coming.
You don't?
I don't. I think at this point they would have had it in there already.
Oh my God. I don't think no, I think it's going to happen.
Well,
I think it's going to happen.
Either way,
I imagine around the time the DLC gets dropped, they'll probably be like, and here's a VR version.
a free VR upgrade.
Or when the new PSV or the PSVR 2.
Maybe.
I was interesting. I watched a Boundary Break YouTube videos, which is a guy who like opens up games codes and you can like go way outside where you're supposed to in games, and usually it winds up being very uninteresting in the end. But it was interesting because he's like, Lady Dimitrescu is constantly roaming the castle like anywhere. She's programmed to like always be in a spot, and then
she doesn't load in.
Nope, like she's always going around doing something. So
she's got an actual kind of like watch that she performs.
And then like she'll like investigate noises you make or something like that. But
Sure.
It was interesting that she's always around. So part of this game, because we mentioned, yes, it's more action oriented and it's got a different feel, which was something they were very conscious of, because 7 was deemed a little too scary for some people and it was too intense. So they wanted to make Resident Evil Village a little more approachable. I wouldn't say easier, but it is. I'd say that the ammo is more abundant, but
I don't remember if I even ran out of bullets ever.
I don't think I did either. But that's where it comes back to like they just wanted to replicate the feeling of 4, because I never ran out of bullets in 4 either.
Whereas 7 had that feeling of Resident Evil 1 where I'm like, I need constantly, like I found a thing of bullets, I'm like, thank God I got more bullets.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't feel that in Village, but one thing I discovered today while doing a little more research, unfortunately we didn't get it in America, but in Japan they had a series of commercials and it was a puppet show of the 4 Lords.
I didn't watch that yet. You put that on the Discord.
We're going to watch it now. It's unfortunately not in
English.
バイオの村においでよみんな愉快な家族だよ富田姉さんモロ君ハイジェンさんハイジ怖くない
So, all right. I think that's why at the end of the day, I prefer 7. Because the horror elements feel much more grounded and straightforward.
Atmospheric.
Yeah, I think the way that they couched this in kind like the story and bosses and levels in kind of this fairy tale format, because essentially like you've got universal monster movies that you're facing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the puppet show we just watched.
Yeah.
At the very end, they even put up the percentages. Like this game was made in response to the previous one, which they said percentages like 18% said it was too scary, 10% said it was this, and the puppet show is so cute, and like
I want to have some of the dolls.
Those blood effects where they're just like pulling tinsel out.
Yeah.
Moreau's backing into the chainsaw, but I like the intro. Resident Evil's not scary. Resident Evil's not scary. Big Sister Dimmy, Slippery Man, Machine Lover, and Ghost Puppet. I found it today. There's 4 episodes. That was just one. The very last one, Mother Miranda shows up.
Japan is so much better about their commercial making.
I think it's just because they have a quirkiness to all that, like here it just seems like everything's got to be like we just saw before that thing came on. We saw like a thing for Velveeta, and they were comparing like the consistency of the cheeses of other macaroni and cheese.
Americans need to have Led Zeppelins in their game trailers, or like ba-bump, bump, ba-bump, and just like big explosions and stuff. Whereas Japan's like straight up, we're having a puppet show, and there's gonna be silly tinsel blood.
Yeah.
Man, I was blown away by the creativity. There's another commercial, which it's a Japanese guy singing karaoke just about Resident Evil Village.
Oh, man.
And there's no subtitles, so I didn't know what he was singing about, but people like were going crazy for that one too.
It's kind of astonishing. I think Capcom, they got like some new blood in there, because for a long time Capcom was a notoriously cheap company. Just would not dole out a lot.
Yeah.
Everything about them was just promoting Street Fighter. I mean, for a long time, Resident Evil wasn't a popular series anymore until these ones.
Street Fighter
was thinking about.
Street Fighter was their most popular because of like fighting game tournaments and stuff, and
it's the people, it's their whales, it's their cash cows, because they keep buying the same game but with turbo in front of it.
I'm very happy that they haven't found a way to put microtransactions into Resident Evil games yet.
Oh, God, it's right around the corner, and you know it.
I don't know about that, but I mean, I'm hoping it doesn't.
Like an extra weapon pack, or
you're out of bullets. Do you want more? $1.99.
It would be tempting too.
Well, it'd be like, I guess so. Yeah, whatever.
Because they've actually got to make it they got to make it happen in the game.
But yeah, you were saying the reason you didn't like this one as much is because it kind of got away from the horror a little bit more.
Yeah, it kind of lost the plot a bit. It feels like this was such a jump, and it also felt very. It feels more implausible. It opens up with a fairy tale story,
which I think is absolutely beautiful.
It's gorgeous, and I do like the story itself, but
it doesn't feel Resident Evil though.
No.
Right when it started, I was like, "What is this?"
Okay, it's fun for the video game as a plot device. It's fun to see like, okay, this is going to be a retelling, a microcosm of the bigger tale.
Right.
There'll be a bat with 3 baby bats that's Dimitrescu, and there's like the machine horse. Sure, it's building up to what the story's going to be. But did Mother Miranda write this fairy tale like 100 years ago based on these 4 things? Because
I think it might have been a villager in that village.
Yeah.
Before it fell to shit.
I think around the Spanish flu era is when that got written.
I mean, Miranda's been alive for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's just,
I don't know.
It's weird that it is very much the same 4 lords and everything.
But a lot of those characters have been alive that long too.
Most of them were kind of around the 50s is when they became lords.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this ancient folklore fairy tale, I don't know, it's just an odd concept, but it's fine. There's some conceits that are made for the video game, such as Dimitrescu needs to turn into a giant dragon because it's fun to fight a giant dragon.
Dragon vampire
lady.
Fucking rad.
It is pretty heavy metal.
That battle is so easy, but I found myself, because it's so high up, they do a really good job of recreating heights in this game, by the way. I do have to point that out right away.
Speaking of heights, how was the elevators for you, Dom?
Oh, I played this on a PS4. So I was in the elevators. Every time you were going up and down an elevator, or like even a ladder, minute and a half.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Because you were playing on
clearly made for like the next generation.
You were playing on an OG Xbox One, right? The chunky boy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It worked fine.
But isn't that's better than a PS4, right?
No, not even close. The Xbox One is far less superior to
my loading times for those elevators, I want to say, was like 15, 20 seconds on the Series X.
Okay.
So that's at least one difference.
Yeah.
But like that's probably the only loading you had to really see, though, right?
Yeah, just like the elevators and stuff.
Wait,
but
which elevators are we talking
just
about?
like when you're going into Moreau's bit and you have to go down an elevator.
Oh, right.
And then
Or you're going up to Lady Beneviento's house,
right.
you go up an elevator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you only go up like a floor, and I was in the elevator for a while.
But maybe it's just like it seems like you're going fast, but it's just really slow.
I mean, there must be a lot of bricks piled on top of each other.
And so they're just running a screen in front of the elevator, make it look
Right.
like you're going up high to scare you more.
I don't quite recall them, so maybe it wasn't even a problem for me.
Yeah, it must not have been.
Yeah,
But I remember like sitting in the elevator being like, oh my God, what really made it was Sarah watched the entire game with me. So
Wow.
yeah, this is a perfect game for like a backseat gamer.
Yeah.
It really is.
So she was even sitting there going, we got out of the elevator and then you go through the whole bit with Moreau. And then at the end, you just climb like a staircase and go back to where the elevator started. And she was like, I feel like you were in that elevator a lot longer than that one staircase that it took to get back to. And I was
Also-
like, you know what? You're right. And I was like, those are all loading screens. And it's probably because these were made for the new Xbox and the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I've heard like the Mass Effect trilogy remastered is so much better because you don't have those super long elevator sequences anymore.
Riding in the Citadel.
Worst part about Dragon Ball Kakarot is the fucking loading screens.
Even-
a game like
are
that
you-
have that.
It's so many loading
Even on
screens.
your
The PS5, yeah.
damn.
That's not okay.
So gameplay differences in 8 versus 7. It's still a first-person shooter. You're going to be finding resources out in the wild. There's crafting, inventory management. I didn't have too much issues with, but there was some of that. Instead of little bobbleheads, you have goats of warding.
Yeah.
All of that kind of remains the same. Some new things, though, are treasures, hunting animals, and cooking. You don't really hunt animals. You find animals and shoot them, but the cooking is a new aspect, even though that is not too much different than crafting, except you just have to go to the Duke, and this guy makes some food for you somehow.
So funny.
I've got to be honest, I love the crafting and cooking in this game. Mm-hmm. I think that a game, it doesn't even bother you if you don't want it, and it doesn't keep pointing it out to you. So it respects your time in a way that a lot of these other games don't. Mm-hmm. Like I'm playing Skyward Sword right now. There will be talk of this in Doggies After Dark, but they keep trying to get you to fucking farm. And it's not it's not cool. It's not always fun.
Yeah.
And
It is detracting from your experience to add length to a game that you don't necessarily want to be longer in that manner.
sure.
Right. And this one's cool. I like this because not only does it reward you for going out of your way to like find fish or whatever, but if you're like me and you're also a document hunter, you'll find pictures, and there are pictures of these animals that are in certain locations that are like the high quality meat. So it wasn't until I think I got the fish picture where I was like, I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
And it made me go, oh, I gotta go. I was just like looking in all,
Where's
at
a
my
boat?
map.
Where's a boat?
Right. And so finally I found that drawbridge that you drop down after you get the crank. And I was like, oh, this is where it is. Cool. And then so I immediately, because it was the one thing that I was missing.
Yeah.
So I finally found it. And then, of course, when you're down there, there's like a whole like treasure trove of other things. So
Yeah.
I finally got the fish, went back, and then I was like, sick, now I can start blocking.
One of the best
Because
one of the best documents is photo of a rare animal. It's just a picture of a pig.
Yeah. Which I think I found that well before I got that photo.
Yeah, that's one you don't need a photo
Yeah,
for. It's like,
so-
oh, did you just walk down there? Because then you found it.
Honestly, it's kind of genius to force the player, if they want to really take in the world you crafted and make it more memorable by doing so. Like the bird in the tree. Mm-hmm. That was I think that's one of the first ones you get.
Yeah.
I wasn't until I found the picture where I was like, oh, I totally missed that.
Yeah.
There's
So-
something that this game does in a subtle way, too, that I really appreciate, where when you pull up the map, if you have all the items in an area, it's blue.
Yeah, that stems back all the way to Resident Evil 1.
Which I think is just a really nice design choice, because if someone is, I need to find everything, then they know they've got it all.
Sarah was sitting there like, your house is still red. We gotta keep looking. And of course, I'm a gamer, so I'm just like waiting for the X icon to pop up. And she's like, you're going too fast. You're going too fast. And I'm like, I'm just looking for the X. Like X marks the spot.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
of course she goes, well, did you check the roof? And I'm like, no. And then I turn around, there's like a hanging cage that you can shoot down and
Little bird
gives you, and
cage.
I'm like, dang it.
It's always
All
right behind you.
Yeah, that was in the barn, right?
Yeah.
And then the treasure system is something a little new as well, where certain like lords or memorable like characters or previous like lords and like old times, there's treasures hidden around on the map which have been marked, and the map has them marked, but you might not have everything you need to get to where they're located until you get this key. But most of the treasures are just something you can sell for big prices back at the Duke, which is very necessary.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Upgrading your guns and buying more guns is
Just getting more space.
yeah.
Truth be told, if I did a second playthrough, I might just use the pistol for a while and not really touch the shotgun.
If you did another playthrough, buy Chris's assault rifle with infinite ammo.
I don't think I had enough for that.
Well, if you did just a few things, I'm sure you would, because that wasn't too expensive in the
Sure.
bonuses, I don't think. But yeah, otherwise the gameplay is going to be kind of the same thing as before. Now, Dom, have you done a lot of lore research or just what you found in the game?
Just what I played through the last couple of days, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to just read a little bit about the story before the village, and then I'm going to throw it over to you, okay?
Okay.
So the village is a small, unnamed mountainous community in Eastern Europe that has existed since ancient times, where there was a kingdom ruled by the four kings. The four people named in the folklore are Nicola, Berengario, Guglielmo, and Cesar. And Cesar was a duke. So I think the duke might be him. That's a theory that I personally have.
Okay.
Was a pagan community, as evident from Nicola's stone idol of a goddess and a steel icon of the Norse creature that you find in some of the treasures. The kingdom wanted to continue settling the mountains as a defensive position and built a castle to the south, later known as Castle Dimitrescu. At the turn of the 20th century, a woman named Miranda took up residence and gave birth to a daughter who died 10 years later in 1919 from the Spanish flu pandemic. Now, I want to hear what your perception of what happens just from your documents in the game, because I'm the Wikipedia whore who has done a lot of extra research.
So, in terms of what I know about this portion of the story,
it's like what happens, what happens to Mother Miranda?
So, from what I gathered from what I found in the game is essentially her daughter Ava gets the flu. She finds and dies from it. So what she ends up doing is going into this cave system basically to just die. She goes in there to basically
Kill herself.
Yeah.
She's going in there to kill herself.
I don't know if it's through starvation or whatever, but she's basically just wandering around down there, and then she ends up finding like this black shit. And it gets thicker and thicker the more she goes in. We now know
Someone's been taking shits in the cave.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
We know now that this is
This is where people go poop.
Yeah. So, but then she goes further into the caves and she finds like this giant brain heart, like blob monster.
Yeah.
And when she touches it, she might have touched the mold. She might have touched this thing.
The fungal root is what
Right.
it says. Yeah. The core of the mold super colony.
But she like gained the knowledge of basically everybody in the village who has walked on the soil because it's like in the ground.
Right, it's a
and-
direct memory.
And people who have died were buried, and so their consciousnesses are like transferred.
Right. So even if you're dead,
it stores the
it stores
consciousness.
your consciousness.
from-
It's essentially a hard drive.
It's a moldy hard drive.
Right.
Yes.
Honestly, this is one of the parts of it I really liked.
Okay, I thought you were going to say you hated it.
I liked
I was
this.
like, this is cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's a sci-fi concept that normally they would not go out of their way to even entertain
Right.
in one of these games. It's usually pandemic this, virus that, bacteria this, and rooting it in fungus and actually kind of explaining what fungus can do to the world around it.
This book here, I have the Resident Evil 7 biohazard document file, which is a really good behind the scenes, just a lot of stories about why they made decisions, but also mixed in there is just real descriptions of how fungus and mold works in like serious ways. Like, can mold get inside a person and kill them? And they're like, yeah, it can get in there and just eat your organs up. Most people survive, but sometimes it can just take over your body and just eat all your organs from inside.
Black mold can do, like actual black mold will kill you if, like, especially if it's in your shower or underneath your shower.
Right. We had to, when we renovated our RV, we essentially had to like tear out all of the walls and replace them because they were just black.
If Albert Wesker knew anything about this, he'd get a raging boner from beyond the grave right now. I was like, oh, must get more.
Do you think his dick wears sunglasses too?
He's got a little pair of sunglasses for his wiener. Yeah, probably.
That's so funny.
It's got to be a big one. So Miranda then takes over the village and becomes a divine figure because she was using the people and could heal them sometimes using this mold. So they're like, she's like a chosen one. She's a gifted person, a goddess.
She is literally the Mother Mary of the town.
Really, though, she was using them as guinea pigs for her experiments with the kadu, which means gift in Romanian, which are moldy nematodes created by Miranda to spread the infection. She was seeking the perfect vessel. The reason she's doing all of this is to find the perfect vessel to bring Eva's consciousness back to her. She is a mom bent on getting her daughter back, essentially. Most become lichens, and they start inhabiting the stronghold. The lichens are kind of kept over there. But 4 subjects demonstrated unique reactions, and they're all descended from the original 4 lords, the names, the 4 kings, the names that I mentioned earlier. And that's Dimitrescu, Moreau, Donna, and Heisenberg. Say my name, as Walter White would say.
God.
Yeah. They're descendants of the 4 houses, and she appointed them leaders, and she starts calling them family. At this point, another friend from the Resident Evil series makes his appearance, Oswald Spencer. I imagine you were very excited at this document.
So when I found this document, I think there's like 4 pages on it.
But it's like, it's meaty. It's so meaty.
On the second page, there's the word revelation, and I fucking lost my mind because I thought it was going to be Alex Wesker, who's Albert Wesker's sister, because she's the villain in Revelations 2.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, Tom lied to us. He said there wasn't a connection to Wesker, and this is where I'm going to flip the page and it's going to be her, and I'm going to freak out. And then it ended up being Oswald Spencer, and I fucking freaked out even harder.
Yeah, because at this point, early 1950s, he was a British medical student who got lost on a hiking exercise. He met Miranda, and they had some discussions about the mold and like the possibilities for bettering the human race.
If I'm not mistaken, he's the one who came up with the idea to splice it with the nematodes.
You could be correct there.
Yeah,
but
I think that's what I read. It could be wrong, but
it was their discussions that inspired him to push Umbrella, and he even stole the logo for Umbrella from the ancient 4 kings,
right?
Which that's why the symbol is in the center of the chalice device, because it's it's not Umbrella, it's just the 4 kings logo. And he's even like, I even used that logo from the thing we saw. Oh, Miranda, I missed you.
It's a cool touch. I mean, it essentially loops everything into one, where everything in this franchise or universe or whatever links back to this random village in Romania.
It's interesting too. I mean, Miranda at this point, she would have probably been like 65, 70. I don't know. Something. She's old because she has a naturally long life.
Yeah.
If she gave birth in like 1919, she's probably around like 55 at least, maybe older.
But she looks like she's fucking 22, baby.
Yeah, the power of mold, right?
Yeah.
Getting mold injections to look younger. It's interesting, though, that Oswald Spencer, this little hiking student, I got lost, and can you help me? And she's like, we're going to be friends? Why would she doesn't have friends elsewhere. She has people she experiments on. It's interesting. Like, he must have been talking some big game about studying on humans. She's like, okay, I could use him for potential help in my research.
Yeah.
I imagine that dude couldn't shut up about it. So
college kids always want to talk about their big ideas.
Yeah, it's like, did you read Catcher in the Rye?
Have you seen Fight Club? Have you seen it though? Like,
Have you really looked at it?
Have you seen it on weed?
The banks are blowing up at the end, dude.
You know, Akira Kurosawa is a pretty good director.
It's just too old and boring. I like Garden State.
Hey man, the Shins are pretty good.
Zach Braff. But yeah.
Zachary Braffery.
They remained in touch, though. And then We're going to go as we get to some of the individuals, because I do have their individual histories. Like Dimitrescu has some pretty cool ones, but we'll talk about them as we get to their areas. But in 2000, Miranda was approached by the Connections, who wished to collaborate. She gave them samples of the mold and of Eva's DNA for some reason.
Probably in hopes that they could figure out a way to get a vessel for her, is what I kind of just thought of.
They kind of go off on their own, though.
Right. But they're scientists working on biological weapons. Maybe they can help me out. That's the only reason I can think that she would just be like, and also here's my child.
And I like that they explain a lot of what happened in 7 through this as well, because since she gives the Connections Eva's DNA and samples of the mold, they are able to take those and create Evelyn, who Mia and that other gentleman have to escort on the boat. And then a guy winds up punching mold monsters for 2 hours straight.
I hope they bring him back in some DLC for no reason.
Yeah.
He's all like strapped up.
Punching
like,
fucking werewolves. left
Ethan
and right.
Winters, you wish.
Boom.
Honestly, they've already got the skeleton of it. They could just do a mode where you go around punching werewolves.
Honestly, if we want to talk about this at the end of the episode,
we can
what
go
we
for
can
it.
what we speculate the DLC might be.
Yeah.
But
I
if
think it might be that.
you know how at the end of that part of the DLC in 7, he ends up saving Zoe. If she becomes like because he saved me, I'm going to join the BSAA.
Right.
And that's our like connection to get Joe Baker back.
Makes sense.
But yeah, we can talk about DLC later after we've discussed some other stuff.
It's interesting how the mold affected things differently in 7 versus 8, because it must have been a result of having Eva's DNA mixed with the mold, and the way Evelyn was also obsessed with having a family that just affected the way the mold controlled people differently, because mold monsters are what the bad guys are in 7, and 8 you have werewolves, which is mostly, it is a gameplay device. They wanted something different to fight, but it's interesting though that instead of moldy dudes, you have aggressive lichens.
It seems that this mold also adapts to local wildlife, and I would imagine in this part of the world there are wolves.
In Louisiana, they're just picking up some dirty shit. That's what they're all mold.
Exactly.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities to create a virus that turns you into a zombie.
Right.
And have a mold that essentially
remembers wolves that it's absorbed.
Right. Something like that.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Are lichens like werewolves that don't transform under the moonlight or something? Like
I think it's different depending on what
there's different mythologies.
Because there's like you show up in the middle of the day and they're there.
Yeah.
So
because these things never revert in Village. Once they are lichens, they are lichens.
Yeah.
And then there are some lichens who Moreau he's like, I'm gonna do experiments too, because mom will love me more. So he just takes like a wolf blood and just injects it into a lichen with mold and turns into a big I forget the name. I'll have it later, but he makes like those giant wolf lichens.
Oh, I like those ones a lot.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that the mold also would then end up fucking with your DNA.
right.
Yeah. So you would just sprout hair automatically. Like, I imagine metabolically that's kind of impossible, but you never know.
So 2014, the Baker House incident, and then over the next...
That takes place in 2014.
2014. Over the next handful of years, Miranda is given information, possibly from Lucas, about Rosemary Winters. She obtains the information somehow, and she knows she is probably the best candidate for Eva at this point. If someone who was in contact with the mold reproduced, something was going on. I don't know if Lucas would know about Rosemary. Someone was telling her about it, though.
Also, they had a child and they named it Rosemary.
Rosemary has a lot of natural element properties if you're into essential oils.
Yeah, but for a guy named Ethan... he's like, we'll call her Rosemary after my Nana. Wow, Ethan, you're so clever all the time. I don't think after the incident in 7, I could be living a happy life with my still kind of crazy wife.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it,
Yeah,
but
I just didn't find the situation all that believable. I'm like, you had a kid? Isn't that kind of irresponsible?
So did you find his emails
No, I didn't.
upstairs? He talks about how he's having a lot of problems with her because she sometimes forgets
Which is
that
because
they've had this like horrible time in Louisiana. So that's why every time he's like, "How can you can you forget?" And she's
He's
like, "I
pissed off about
fucking
it."
remember, Ethan. Get off my dick about it."
Right, yeah.
And it's because she doesn't actually remember because she's not who she says she is. And
Oh,
that's why
yeah.
she's so naggy about it. Because she doesn't want him to figure out that
I forgot
she's
about
not
that
who he
plot.
who
I
she
cannot
is.
believe I forgot about that plot twist.
I'm just going to do a small timeline correction. 2014 is when Evelyn was created. She has accelerated growth, but I imagine it was maybe 2017 by the time the Baker House incident started.
That
When the
should-
game came out is when the year it would have been. So
They seem to happen in real time, so.
yeah, because 2021 is when this happens. February 5th specifically is when Mia is abducted and experimented on by Miranda. February 5th. She assimilates her DNA and replaces her at home because this is something that Miranda can do with her mold abilities.
Mimicry, I believe, is the term they use.
Also a terrible film. It's actually not bad. Guillermo del Toro, it's okay. But Ethan notices her becoming strangely aware of local folklore. The prologue in The Winter's Home is 3 years after the events of Resident Evil 7.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan and Mia have a 6-month-old named Rosemary. The night this begins is February 8th, the little prologue sequence, and then the entire game takes place in one day on February 9th of 2021.
Motherfucker gets a lot of shit done in that night.
But when you crunch out the numbers, I'm like, I played for 8 hours.
Yeah.
If anything,
That's
I'm faster than he was, probably.
Yeah. It's a day's worth of work.
I'd be so tired.
It's just like, my hand got cut off twice today.
Yeah.
Like, this
Both
is
of them.
bullshit.
Yeah.
I love that scene. It just gets sliced off, and I was like, and Sarah went, "Oh my god, that sucks. You
one
like
with
have
Dimitrescu?
you now have half a hand."
Yeah.
And I go, "Oh, he'll probably just put it right back on." And she was like, "What are you fucking talking?" And then he literally just puts it on and like twists it on like it's a screwdriver,
Yeah.
or a screw, and just wiggles his fingers and it's all good to go. And she was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "He's probably infected with whatever the fuck this shit is."
Well, I'm really glad that they do address it because
Me too.
it's very early in the game, he gets a bunch of fingers bitten off, and then he gets both of his hands cut off. And I was like, or he gets one hand cut off. And I'm like, I don't know about this. And then they explain it later on. But
Yeah.
you mentioned in the prologue, Mia's been acting weird. And
Yeah.
Ethan notices. Another thing that's really nice, apart from the fact she's been reading the folklore books and she's reading like the fairy tales, she's like, it's from a village around here and it's cute. But she gets a bottle of wine that's a special vintage from a local spot. And you'll notice it is some of the same bottles of wine that is in Dimitrescu's wine cabinets.
Oh, that's
no
a keen
way.
eye, Brad. Did you figure that one out yourself?
I watched YouTube videos about it anyways.
see.
I will say this: Sarah's keen eye was that like porridge that she's making.
Yeah.
When you go into all the houses, and even in the kitchen in the castle, it's the same dish that she was making you at the very beginning.
And there's some parts
local
where you're like, are
like a
you
local
just
something.
reusing assets from 7? Because I thought, with the wine, I'm like, maybe they were, but then you find out, okay, it is, Miranda. So there's a reason for that wine to be there. But in one of the very first cabin or house you stumble upon after you wake up again, I found there was a bottle of beer, and it was Dolby beer. And I'm like, okay, so someone's either a big fan of Dolby Louisiana beer and had it brought over to your European village, or they're reusing an asset, which I'd like to imagine this guy's just like a craft beer collector and Dolby had like a dope porter or something.
But I mean, what
that's-
if that's like their Miller, European countries get Miller, they get Budweiser.
Yeah, but there was a Dolby beer in that first house, which I thought was interesting.
I'm going to imagine that it's in the vein of a Budweiser because I think it's probably some rice.
Or
base.
well, it's Dolby beer, a specific city in Louisiana where the 7th game takes place. I don't think it's like a Miller, but I could imagine a scenario where they had someone that was in the Louisiana incident living there on the outskirts of the village. Maybe someone from Chris's team is like keeping an eye on stuff.
Maybe.
And like, because it's not in the village, it's kind of just outside of the village.
Does he not mention that he placed people in the village to live there? I thought I
Chris?
remember that. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't remember reading that in the documents, but as the documents say. But speaking of Dolby beer, we're going to take a quick break, grab some more beers. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if he stopped relying on imperfect human DNA and injected himself with Ouroboros, he could kill like me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a volcano. With the man your man could kill like. What's on your arm? Back at me. I have it. It's morphing precious metal from that favorite jewelry of yours. Look again. Your jewelry is now a giant avant-garde phallic symbol. Anything is possible when your man injects Ouroboros instead of living on measly human DNA. I'm eating rockets.
Okay, so Ethan and we're back. We're high. Everyone, we're back.
We're high.
We're high.
We're so
everyone.
high, dude.
Oh, man.
Ethan and not Mia are having a nice meal, and what happens, Dylan?
Chris barges in.
Dude, like nobody's fucking business.
And he's like, dude, you want to know my biggest problem with that entire scene? It's one of those conceits where if you just explained what was going on, nothing would have happened.
I'm getting very strong Donnie, you're out of your element vibes from Chris Redfield. It's like, what are you doing, Chris? Leave it alone, Ethan. You just stay home. You're out of your element, Donnie. Mm-hmm. And yes, all you have to say is something's going on. That's not Mia.
Yeah.
We're taking Rosemary for safety. Anything.
Yeah.
And it's like Ethan single-handedly went in and did all of 7. Do you not think this guy could maybe handle a situation?
He's a pretty crack shot right away, too, which is very astonishing.
But then you see Chris's like duster jacket and you're like, all right, I trust him. Chris is right no matter what because he looks badass.
Yeah, man, he was pretty cool looking, but he's definitely got this edgelord vibe now.
Yeah, I didn't. I was
I
something's up with this. I don't fucking trust this guy now. I don't know why.
There's concept art of him in like civilian clothes, and I was like, oh no. Just like denim jeans and like a shirt. Can you imagine like Chris just coming in?
Do you remember that picture that photo shoot that Donald Trump Jr. did out in the woods where he had the flannel shirt
and brand new hiking boots?
In brand new hiking boots, and he just kind of looked like a dope standing on a log. That's how I picture Chris in civilian clothes. I don't want to see him in anything other than tactical vests, ready to fucking punch a boulder.
Yeah, I just got like Always Sunny vibes. It was like, it's my turn with the duster. It was a cool thing. But yeah, Mia gets shot in her fucking head like 8 times. And then he comes up and he like looks Ethan in the face and shoots her again.
Yeah.
And he can't just say, something's going on. Just explain it to Ethan.
Chris would also trust, Ethan would trust Chris to do some of this stuff. He would obviously want to be involved, but I don't think he would actively be like, I'm going to go find her on my own.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Really? Why?
Well, if Chris barged in and said, I agree with Brad, where he should have just been like, yo, fucking, this is the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ethan, in my mind, probably would have been like, okay, well, I'm coming with you. And Chris would have been like, no, you can't. So
that makes a better conceit, though.
Yeah, but then he's like, but by the way, I also have to take your baby. At that point, he would be like, okay,
no,
I trust you.
No, just
but
like,
he would probably be there for maybe an hour before he'd go, okay, no, this doesn't feel right, and I have to go after her now.
You don't need to knock Ethan out and kidnap the baby. You can just be like, you're coming with us. We're going somewhere safe.
Right.
Boom. You have a fuck you, Chris, but I trust you and we're going.
I think they just wanted to have like this.
The mystery.
Chris is the evil guy in this for whatever reason.
Let's talk about the cover here.
Yeah.
This pisses me off.
Why?
Because he's half a werewolf.
Chris Redfield, half his face, and then you see the lichen eye for his left eye.
It represents...
And there's even the teeth.
It represents his apparent ascent into darkness.
It looks like he's going to become a werewolf, you mean?
That's what it looks like, yes.
I don't think that it implies that.
I don't think
That's
people
what it
who
implies.
haven't played this game before are not going to go, it's a metaphor.
But let's be clear, it's a bad cover.
It's not a good cover at
There's
all.
nothing interesting about it.
I don't know. Yeah, what?
It's not good. It's not good looking.
I'd have Moreau sitting in front of his TV watching romantic movies.
Yeah.
Yep. Because that's what he's watching. He watches like romantic comedies on TV.
Oh yeah.
I do like that it doesn't give anything away in the video game.
It should have just had like Ethan Winters, but like with a black face. Because that is the dumbest thing ever.
I still can't believe we don't know what he looks like.
Well, we do, because they've shown it a couple times before. In like 7, you do see his face.
If they had done a nice picture of that church in the village, and on top of it was a werewolf like ready to
like
pounce,
howling or something, yeah.
There's some really good artwork of like the big werewolf guys. Put one of those on there.
But
or
for
Lady
some reason-
Dimitrescu. You want to sell 1 billion copies? Just put Dimitrescu on there.
You want to know what's
I
demonic?
think they probably had already printed out all those.
And they're like, damn it, she's a meme.
Yeah.
Do you want to know?
She's even bigger than we thought.
Yeah.
Do you want to know the craziest part about this though? Is that they probably focus tested even the cover to this game because that's what they tend to do, and people still. Your normal, other God-fearing Americans all looked at this fucking picture and said, yeah, this is the best one in a series of grouping.
I mean, but
who are these people though? Are they like
They're randos.
Right.
Their demographic.
So if you're going up to a random person who's never played any of these games before and say this is a video game about a bunch of werewolves in a village and you're a man whose kid gets taken away and he has to go through this village in order to and this is the guy that took his baby.
Oh, well.
They would probably be like, then this is the perfect picture for that.
Japanese box art.
It's way better.
It's got the wings from Mother Miranda. I mean,
Just the fact that it's called Biohazard is
It's
Well,
such
already
a better
way
name.
better.
I think it's because there was a band in America, right?
Yeah.
Getting back to the story, though, yes, Chris is being presented as the bad guy. Ethan is abducted, and the vehicle is immediately turned over.
They don't seem to plan that well.
Well, during the morning,
At this point, they brought her dead body, knowing that it was her.
They have
and
helicopters. Why are they transporting
with
him?
Ethan and Rosemary
with Ethan, Rosemary, and Mia's dead body. who
within
isn't-
like a mile of the village?
right, and
Yeah.
they expected her not to come back to life, even though we watched her get riddled with bullets, and then Chris walked up to her again and continues to shoot her, and you can hear her going.
We didn't know that she could assimilate a corpse. That's what you're going to use to describe that?
Right.
That's what they say. The morning when Ethan's still out, though, Miranda holds a ritual and crystallizes Rose's body and separates it into 4 flasks. This is insurance for the ritual, they say. Honestly, that doesn't make fucking sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Your mother, Miranda, you're probably okay going to somewhere Ethan can't get without keys that'll take him 8 hours to get. You crystallize the body and put it into 4 flasks, but you're gonna have to bring it back together anyways. There's no reason for this.
I think it's because she might have realized that even Chris's strike team was looking for it as well. And if you kept it in 4 different locations, that splits up Chris's team.
Maybe, but you still need to get all 4 pieces back. If she loses even one of those, she can't do the ritual.
Well, that's why she gave them to her trusted generals.
Moreau?
One of her trusted generals.
Yeah, he actually is kind of impressive.
If anything, he could just take it in the water and nobody can get him.
Yeah.
But the old trusty video game sluice gate's going to come out there. Yeah, then the game kind of really just takes off. You arrive in the village, you meet villagers. What'd you guys think of you didn't like the opening sequence, you said, Dylan.
No.
What did you have that you didn't like about it?
And this is something I gripe about a lot. Apologies for people who listen to this regularly. But there is, in this game, even past this point, there is a lot of, you're standing there and watching things happen and everyone's talking to you. Even the villains, they don't kill you right away like most villains would. They do this whole James Bond, like Shakespearean monologue thing to you.
I just love that Ethan Winters is just like your everyday Chad who just happens to be there.
Oh my God. And especially like when, I have to admire the voice actor for this because he was not given good lines. Especially like, damn it, why do I keep losing everyone?
Why is this happening again?
Why not again? It's like it's the Mummy to the Mummy Returns. It's like more mummies. It's like really
Not this guy again.
Yeah, exactly. It's like fuck. I just defeated
So
it.
Ethan Winters is Brendan Fraser with a little less charisma.
Much less charisma.
Yeah,
How
Brendan Fraser's in
dare
this role
you.
would be amazing.
Oh my god, he's going to be in a Scorsese film. Have you heard?
He's starring in an Aronofsky film next, and then he's going to be in a Scorsese film.
I want to kiss him.
Yeah, on the mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the big arrival scene. You get your first gun. You meet some of the villagers who all promptly get fucking killed.
Yeah, I was
Is this the bit where the house is on fire and
Yeah.
you decide that it would be the best idea to
drive
drive
a
up
car.
the house
Well, first-
after driving a car through it?
First, you drive. You're like, I got to get this truck started and just drive it through a wall.
and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't know how it doesn't work. How old is that house? It's definitely not made of steel.
And what's the name of this woman? Penelope? I forget her name.
Louisa?
You go to Louisa's house. I forget the name of the person you're
Is
with.
it
though.
Elena?
Maybe,
I don't know.
Elena sounds right. We'll go with
She
Elena.
dies so quick. I'm going to call her Penelope.
You know, Ada,
And-
Ada Wong was originally supposed to be in this game.
Really?
But they removed her.
It's probably a wise choice.
They thought it would have been too distracting.
would've been way too
that and
distracting.
if
Because she'd be going around in stilettos and like a red dress.
well, and
Oh, they would have given her like some awesome European jacket with like fur lining.
if they
She'd be
added her into
beautiful.
the game, I would have been waiting for Leon to also make an appearance at some point.
Yeah, I think that's
that would have been the
key.
Wong choice, dude.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, I got
you
it.
can't have Leon without Ada Wong.
Sexy Brad, very sexy.
Very sexy. This is Leon's already in this game even if he doesn't want to be because this is just Resident Evil 4.
The spirit of that game is so far entrenched into this. I will say I do love how this game is decidedly not a brown color palette video game. They have room for color and distinction because Resident Evil 4, if you play that game, it's like someone smeared dust on your television screen and told you can't wipe it off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the only color is purple.
Yeah.
and it's the cloaks of every bad guy in the game. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the villagers all promptly die immediately.
The surviving
Ethan curses
ones.
to the sky.
Damn
and-
you.
Damn you, Sky. Why are you doing this again? And then you you run into the hag character, which the hag is actually Miranda as well, toying with you the whole time.
Yeah, but why is she toying with you?
Probably just, I don't know. She's maybe trying to lure him along to get killed by somebody.
It just, I don't think anyone's even thinking about.
Or maybe she wants to, I don't know. She is observing Ethan. I think the same reason she didn't kill Mia is in case she needs to have more information or DNA to somehow
Knowledge is
expedite the process. That's the same reason I think she keeps Mia around, because if she needs her there to help Rosemary become Evelyn, she wants to have that option. So maybe she's just studying Ethan.
Maybe it's because they're actually successfully integrated with the black mold in a way that even her creations were not.
Yeah, Ethan, she doesn't know what's going on with Ethan at this point yet. Nobody does except Mia, which is surprising.
Sarah's theory on the hag is that she is manipulating Ethan to go to these different like areas and make sure that if there is somebody that is trying to take the baby for themselves,
He gets it instead?
no, then, he will collect the baby and bring it back to her eventually.
Yeah.
So, which we find out later that Heisenberg is like making a weird zombie machine uprising to take her down.
That's a
mutiny.
whole story in itself
Yeah.
there.
I love Heisenberg.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's cool. We meet the Duke. Well, first, we have a trial where we get to see the Four Lords for the first time.
Yeah.
Because you get caught by Heisenberg, who wraps you in metal, and you get dragged along. And
He's
then
Magneto.
he's Magneto with sunglasses and a cool hat. But yeah, you get chased in a silly sequence, and just like that, you can get out. But you see the Four Lords kind of hate each other too.
Yeah.
Moreau and Donna don't get much love in this first sequence, but you find out Heisenberg and Dimitrescu really don't like each other.
I think it's because she's the older, she's kind of
Aristocratic.
first daughter. She's the first daughter. In her eyes, she's like, I deserve mother's favor because I've been around the longest and I've been the most loyal and have done the most for her.
So when you get later on in the game, you find more files and stuff, and Mother Miranda has tagged Lady Dimitrescu as the most suitable for the vessel. So I think that's why she kind of, because at that point before Rosemary, she was going to be her choice. So I think that's why she kind of gives her special treatment.
Right.
Lady Alcina Dimitrescu, however you want to say it. 9 foot 6 inches tall.
That's ridiculous.
After she gets the parasite.
Ooh la la, I'll climb her like a mountain.
The body is willing, or no, the spirit is willing, but the body is weak and fleshy. What is that quote?
I'm gonna have to set up camp halfway through climbing that woman.
But she is a little bit older. She was born in 1914. In her youth, she had a small career in the jazz scene where she went by the name of Miss D, and she played with the Paul Boys. In the aftermath of World War II, she returned to her family's former lands and joined the village. At the age of 44, she was implanted with the Kadu parasite, which caused her to grow to large vampire mommy proportions. She also those are my words. She also acquired regenerative abilities, retractable claw-like nails. I put adamantium. And the ability to transform into a dragon-like creature. She also stopped aging. She contracted porphyria and now needs fresh human blood to survive from now on. She has ran the family winery and feasted on blood for 70 years now. And there was a dagger of death's door. Some man attempted to assassinate her at some point, and the dagger is said to have poisons from all around the globe imbued with it. His attempt failed, and for some reason, she gave this guy a coffin and put him in a very important place in her castle. Whereas you take that dagger and bury that fucker deep.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so she used to play jazz, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's fucking rad. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There's something really great about the castle environment and the way she moves through it.
So I don't know if you just said it. Did she inherit this castle?
It is her family's castle. Yes.
It's her rich.
So she only became 9 feet tall after she got Kadooed.
Yes.
Okay. So the entire time I was playing this, I was like, damn, this is her castle. Why did she design all the doors like this?
This castle was built back in the day for one of the original kings.
Because she's just like, I had a roommate in China who was 6'7", I want to say.
Yao Ming?
No, just some random fucking English dude.
Oh, well.
But every time we got on the subway, he had to do a Dimitrescu through the doorway. And every time she did it, I was laughing so hard because it reminded me of him, walking onto the subway and having to do that just to get in. But then once he's on the subway, he's also holding on to the rings and his neck is at a 90-degree angle. And then on top of that, all of the Asian people are pointing at him because they're amazed by the fact that there's a guy who's taller than 5 feet.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We should take Tom there.
They would fucking go wild for his orange hair.
Well, go wild for all of us.
No, but Tom would also have 6-inch long green shorts on and just blow everyone away. We can see his balls.
Whoa, look at him.
He's a bigger American penis.
Very big. So the 3 daughters, Bella, Cassandra, and Daniela, they're
all identical.
Except with their hair color, blonde, brunette, and redhead.
I was disappointed by them.
It's interesting what they're made from. So there are 3 corpses that were implanted with the Kadu parasite.
Yeah, dead.
This is a Dimitrescu experiment. She did this.
So this is if a chambermaid is, I think what they are. They're just maidens, right?
Yes.
So when you do something bad, she takes you into the dungeon and just tortures the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
So she's clearly psychotic. She then takes 3 of these maidens and implants them with the Kadu. And then flies come out of them or something?
The flies that were feasting on them merged with the bodies to mimic their shapes and adapted their likenesses.
Ooh, fascinating.
These are fly monsters that can, with the power of the Kadu,
basically shapeshift into their...
I fucking love that bit.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, it's super cool.
That would explain the werewolves then, too.
They're a hive mind, but they don't like the cold temperature. Which a fun thing you can do, even an achievement, is break every breakable window in the castle. And it's like the Hoodlum Award or something. But
yeah.
Breaking the windows, like if the daughters are chasing you, it will stop them. So it actually has a gameplay advantage to
But
break.
it's also how you kill them as well.
It's also Ethan just being a shithead. He's like, fuck you.
Well, if I figured out that they didn't like the cold, I'd probably go around the entire house doing the same thing.
Or just open a few windows.
Yeah.
And
you don't need to blow apart a fucking like mouse like hole in the wall and be like, and then they're just like, oh darn it, the cold. I'm like, just put on a jacket, bitch.
And I wanted to mention one other very fun thing about the castle and its inhabitants. So the Morowaika are the slow zombie-like creatures in the basement. And then the ones that are flying are the Samka. And they are all female. And they've all just got the same parasite. Those are all females.
They don't look female.
They're all females. It's hard to tell.
It makes sense when
you can
you
see
hear them moaning, they do kind of sound like chicks.
And you can tell in like the art director's notes. But male victims were also in the castle. They were just consumed and then hollowed out to create all the scarecrows you see outside of the castle.
Oh, cool.
Fuck.
Yep. So those aren't just scarecrows. Those are also male victims of the castle, which I was like, very cool, very cool.
Damn. Gothic horror at its best, huh?
Yeah. Well, and we talked about this a little bit, where each of the lords represent kind of a different horror trope.
Universal movie monsters specifically.
Because we got Dracula, we got Frankenstein is Heisenberg, Moreau. You won't even say Swamp Thing.
Creature from the
Black Lagoon.
And then you've got
Ghost Puppet.
well, I mean,
Annabelle.
or just ghost shit in general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ghosts.
And then you've got fucking Jeepers Creepers with
Like
these scarecrow guys.
I guess. I mean, specifically, and then you've got another big boss.
And you got
we
Ethan
kinda
Winters,
talked
who
about.
was the living dead girl the whole time.
I really want to sing that Rob Zombie song.
I love that song. So good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see his Munsters reboot. But yeah, he's also like a horror trope as well. Like you were not a zombie, but you were like a dead thing.
Yeah.
Which is a great revelation. Spoiler warning.
Oh, you
one or
did.
So, what are your guys' thoughts on the castle in general? We spent a decent amount of time in there.
It's easily, the reason you spend the most amount of time in that portion of the game is because it is the best part.
Yep. Period.
It is the most Resident Evil-esque, like going back to the roots of Resident Evil, where you have to go to a place to get a thing, to go back to the place to get out of the area.
Well,
it feels the most Resident Evil 1 to me.
Right.
I love weird fucking architects who are like, in this spot you need an eye, and this eye goes in the statue.
Yeah, that's
it's so
the
so
shit
funny
I
to
love
me.
about this franchise is because it doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, but there's lore for like the mansion and also a
Right.
lot of Raccoon City, because it was one guy who's like, I'm an artist as well.
Here's the thing, right? Now we have a connection to Oswald Spencer, who made somebody make that mansion at the beginning. Did he see this castle and go, I need to make something like this up in the mountains in our Clay Mountains?
We just need to get the novelization.
Right,
so we
exactly.
Really know.
Like, that's why I'm saying, like, when that document dropped, so did my pants.
And Sarah's just like, stop it. Stop jacking off.
Spencer.
That's actually really interesting. And I would argue that the first two parts of this game, which I would just categorize as the village and then the castle, are maybe the most Metroidvania Resident Evil has ever been.
Like Prime?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Not Prime, just like Metroidvania in general, like where you're given access to a big area and you need to find this item to get further through
Right,
here.
okay.
And I can see, I see
I
where
could
you're coming
argue-
from.
I could
Especially
actually-
the castle. It's very Castlevania.
Yeah.
Because you are given access to a big open area and you can go this far over here, this far over there.
Yeah.
Eventually you get chased. You wind up going through everywhere. You go to the distillery and like the basement, like
It's true.
you go up to the rooftops, which I really like that sequence. The first time you go up to the rooftops,
Oh, and you get the sniper rifle?
which is great for fighting the Samka. The castle is pretty striking in itself, though. We do meet the Duke outside of the castle, and he's a round man who just like falls out of his little carriage.
I love how fucking nonsensical this guy is. He's like 800 pounds.
And it's just belly sticking out of his shirt and beautifully rendered. He looks amazing.
Right.
He looks great.
He should not be able to move at all. Yet somehow every corner you turn, he's like, "Hello, friend."
I think it's implied he's pretty mystical as well.
Well, and that's why
he's always in the carriage. All of a sudden, the carriage is inside the house.
My theory is that one of the four kings, his name was Caesar, and it specifically says in a document he was a duke. And I'm like,
there it is. I think that's pretty straightforward.
I'm like, oh, so this duke is maybe another creature of the mold because he recognizes Ethan as a creature of the mold. I think he might be a surviving king, but a cute thing that I don't think everyone notices when the Duke moves locations, some of the things in his carriage changes. When he's inside the castle, there's garlic hung up everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice. That's cool.
And when he's at like Moreau's place, there's fish up everywhere, like he's been catching fish. There's little fun, subtle things. But yeah, the Duke is your merchant and honestly your only friend you're going to have outside of Chris, who we don't trust
At this point, yeah, we don't like that fucking.
And even Ethan's like, why should I trust you? He's like, oh, I'm a humble merchant. I just sell things, Ethan.
It's not a bad impression, dude.
And it's great because everybody, even Dimitrescu, she's like, I'm not going to go in his room. I'm not going to follow you into the Duke's room. That's his room. I respect his space. I'm a good mom. I don't go into my bully's
there's
room.
garlic in there.
There's garlic in that room. But I don't know. He somehow follows you. Thankfully, he's installed in an elevator in Heisenberg's factory.
Yeah.
Can I make a quick video game pitch?
Yes.
Wario, vampire hunter. Wario loves garlic. Can you imagine him farting on vampires?
It'd be a Wario-vania.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, is this Mr. Miyamoto?
Yeah, I was about to say, you might need
Dylan,
to
quit
cut
calling me. I told you to
Yeah.
stop calling me.
I'm sorry, Miyamoto-san.
Yeah. You fight the old vampire lady on top of the house there. She takes you way up. She turns into a dragon thing. At one point, she says, "You're cursed, Ethan Winters." You kill her, and then you all drop to the bottom. And then Ethan goes, "You're the one who's cursed." And I'm like,
Whoa.
and I was like, dude, she's got a family, and you already killed them too. Like,
Yeah.
go easy on them,
Family,
lady.
yeah, man.
You're the one who's cursed.
Yeah.
That was the first one-liner. I'm like, I don't know if he's as cool as he thinks he sounds.
No.
There's a really good one later on when you do meet up with Chris again, and Chris is like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "I'm gonna go find him and I'm gonna kill him." And Chris like smiles. He was like, "Okay, Ethan." He seriously gives you like a okay. And fuck, Chris has a pretty big 180 on you at that point too. But you always revisit the village between locations, and you get a little bit more. It's fine. It's fun to revisit. I don't think it adds too much to
I think it does.
Yeah?
I think that the village is a puzzle box that you're meant to solve over time. There's something really fascinating about the way that it unfolds too, because in the beginning you can go through most of the village anyway. There isn't a lot of secrets or anything hiding. But the moment that the story actually picks up and you have to go into the castle and come out, I mean, it opens up like a fourth of each part of it.
And you're given reason to re-explore the village too, because they have the wells. Eventually, you get the crank, and then you also get another thing to open certain doors. You need a certain device to open doors.
The animals start popping up over time as well. So like you open your map up and you're like, oh shit, there's a goat over there now.
Who's fucking feeding those chickens?
They're moldy chickens.
Yeah.
Up next is a beautiful change of pace though. House Beneviento.
Yeah.
What a moody fucking place.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Man, it feels a little bit like Saw to an extent. Like where you have to solve a puzzle.
It's like medical horror.
And it's
once you find out what is actually happening in this this portion of the game, I fucking was like, that's cool.
This was the scariest part of the game for me.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that they take your weapons away, and it's not about shooting your way out of it, it's about thinking your way out of this.
Solving the issue.
And I'm like, okay, this is much more exciting to me than, I just have enough bullets because it's an infinite bullet situation.
It's not even the most complex part, but it's the most in the vein of your Outlasts.
What's always spooky is creepy dolls. You go down an elevator to the basement, and then you see like a giant doll, which is meant to be your wife.
Yeah.
The lights go out. You're all of a sudden missing all your shit. It's like, well, better start playing with that big doll in front of you. Mm-hmm. This is, I absolutely adored this sequence of the game.
It's clearly this, what's her name again? I'm so sorry.
Mia?
Donna Beneviento.
Jeez.
That's spooky, guys. I didn't even mean to drop that can of beer.
He didn't even mean to do it.
Guys, if you're out there, Donna, make a sound.
I hope your dogs can hear that.
I don't have dogs.
It's interesting because that it is also simultaneously the most normal looking part of the entire game. It's just a nice house on the side of a cliff, and it's
beautiful.
It's honestly the
Beautiful
most
waterfall.
It's honestly the most American looking house too. Mm-hmm. There's something weird about that, and once you get into the basement, there's like the labs and stuff, but
there's a lack of enemies leading up to it too, which makes it more moody. Yep. You have to go over a giant rickety bridge. Originally, they intended to have it be you getting chased by villagers and you have to run away from them. I'm so glad they took that out.
Yeah, it's just your crows popping out, right?
You're going through like the misty, cloudy woods. Yeah. And then you see a vision of Mia, which you find out that it's the flowers that grow around Donna's house that causes you to hallucinate things.
From what I read in my documents, because I love these documents, Dylan. I don't know if you know.
Dommy's docs.
Enlighten us,
she
please.
actually secretes a pheromone.
Oh, yeah. I read some of those.
This is her, like, ability, she secretes a pheromone that is only sensed by these flowers that are in the ground, basically sucking up the mold. Oh. And then their spores basically shoot out this moldy hallucinogenic.
Yeah. But you can control the hallucination.
Right.
Which is cooler.
Which she's basically poison ivy.
I would say scarecrow.
Scarecrow poison ivy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a love child.
Yeah.
It was just
Which,
a doll.
when I found that out, I was like, fuck, that's cool. And that also makes sense as to why you see the things that you see in this house. Like, because you see floating dolls all around you, and you're like, what the fuck?
Well, I was worried
that you're like, what is going on in this house? And then when you find out he's just tripping balls.
Were you worried that they were going to finally approach ghosts in a Resident Evil game?
I mean, again, it wouldn't be outside of the realm of them.
I don't think they ever would.
The only thing that would surprise me is aliens at this point. And that probably wouldn't surprise me either.
I bet the next one, man.
Donna,
Resident Evil spaceship.
Alien Isolation.
I'd play it. Donna Beneviento, born into gentry sometime in the 20th century. Over the century, her family fell apart. Bernadette, possibly a sibling, was lost to experiments with the Kadu. Her parents then committed suicide while Donna was a child.
Oh.
Might have jumped into the waterfall, depending on some people's speculations. Donna
Nice place to die.
Donna begins talking through her doll Angie as a coping mechanism. Claudia Beneviento's grave is out front, 1987 to 96, possibly related. We don't know how it's related to Donna, but after being experimented on sometime after 1996, she gained the ability to secrete a psychoactive chemical which could induce extreme violent hallucinations. Angie the doll was made by Donna's father, who was a doll maker. Also implanted with a Kadu, controllable by Donna. Also, a giant baby.
Yeah. Okay, so did this freak you out?
Okay, This is everything that's good about horror films happens in this. So you have to pull the film out of the doll's mouth.
Yep.
You take it and you put it up on the projector, and it shows a video going into the basement, to the deep part of the basement, to the deeper part of the basement, to the well.
Right.
And you go down the ladder down the well. Everything about that is what scares me in horror movies. And I'm like...
That, I think, is what intrigued me so much to play Resident Evil 7, because the demo for that is essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
Where you find these, like, weird ghost hunter guys, they're VHS, and you put it in the TV, and it shows you, like, there's a lever in the fireplace to pull, and you go down, and that's where you... Blair Witch Project sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
You go down the well.
Right. So you go down the well, and I was like full on expecting there to be some fucking wild thing down there, and it's just a key.
Yeah.
But then you come
back up,
and then
and everything's different.
What are you hearing? And it's like, Rosemary? No. So the art director, if you pull up the thing in the game, like if you buy the thing of the giant baby is a 2 to 3 minute old girl who is 5 foot 10 inches tall and 7 foot 7 inches long, created from the doll of Mia. Her umbilical cord drags behind her as she crawls, and she calls Ethan Dada.
I love the warping of the vocals.
And it says, with great strength, it can barely open its left eye. But like the baby, because you think you're finally getting out, you unlock the door, and you see just like it's dark, and there's this giant fucking baby coming.
It's just like a blob monster, yeah.
And the way its like mouth shakes when it's screaming, oh.
Someone was there with me watching this, and they were like, Dylan, what the fuck? And it's like, you were just killing like vampire ladies. God. This part did terrify me. There is something chaotic, I'll keep praising the sound designer on this, because making the baby laugh
instead of like cry.
Yeah. That is another layer of disturbing on top of it.
But it's also like that weird distorted, like when it's like you can hear it laughing normally, but it also has that
wail.
wah underneath it.
And it's just seeking you out. It's coming for you. And I didn't get eaten in the game.
I didn't either. I unfortunately found out that you could go into the lockers before the baby thing happened.
Because you were exploring properly.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've seen videos, and the baby will just pick you up and eat you.
Huh.
That's how you get it. Well, like it just sucks you inside, and you get a game over.
Yeah, it's got a huge mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it says it's a 2 to 3 minute old girl. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to specify in your art comments.
But okay, it's made from the doll. Can you please explain this to me?
No. It's not really properly explained. Is it all hallucination? Is it something to do with the Kadu parasite mixing with the doll? And
is she just trying to get at Ethan's primordial fears?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, and also inside the basement is like a music box that belongs in Ethan's home. How did that get there? How is the film from Ethan's memories there?
I think she can...
The radio clips or whatever of the recordings of Mia saying like, it's going to be okay.
Why is all of this there?
It's all hallucination.
And...
Right? But at the time, you're like, what the fuck?
Here's the implication.
The baby can eat you and kill you. Is it your hallucination killing you, or did the Kadu parasite manifest a hallucination into a real thing? I think...
That's an interesting question, yeah.
I think it did. Because it says it says it's a 2 to 3 minute old girl, which that is a definitive, like it is a thing. That's what the art director says. So I imagine it is some sort of a real creature at that point. But
who knows? You said that her parents committed suicide. Maybe they've hallucinated something and jumped off the cliff because it was like, we're going skydiving or whatever. You know?
And I imagine at that point, Miranda was testing the Kadu on all of the descendants of all of the kings. So the fact that one of her family members died and then her parents killed themselves, probably from something to do with the parasite. Yeah, I don't know.
I think the implication here is that not only can she control hallucinations, she can also read minds through that process.
And
which is way more interesting and adds a layer. I think that baby is just Ethan's fear of, like, not just like fatherhood or
what could become of his child.
The fact that his daughter is technically a monster that they can chop up and crystallize, yet still lives.
He's going through these things because he learned just before, because the Duke told him, he's like, you're holding part of your daughter right now. So he's processing this body horror stuff, going into the hallucination zone.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to think of Donna Beneviento and just think of Ghost Puppet Doll, but that's not Donna. Donna is a woman wearing all black, who's got a mutation on her face of her own, not dissimilar to what the doll looks like. But so she's actually there as well. But when you get out of the basement, you just have to play hide and seek with the doll, stab it 3 times in the face, and then you like come to and realize you were stabbing Donna in the face the whole time, which is kind of fun.
I think she probably wanted to die too. I think she kind of made the game to kind of have one last weird hurrah. She obviously was the most oppressed out of that entire group.
Oh yeah. The whole garb that she's wearing, isn't that like a morning gown or whatever?
And there's a good document too where the gardener's like, Donna finally like has been communicating with the doll, and she seems to have some sort of a purpose, and is like, maybe because when her parents died, like she wasn't talking at all, and then she found the doll and started communicating with that, and the gardener's like, this is great, like she's at least communicating again, but clearly she's fucked up.
Either you become this woman or you become Batman. That seems to be the 2 options.
Explain this to me.
I don't really know. I'm very tired. I made a connection in my mind, and obviously it didn't work.
I'm Heisenberg.
On reflection, yeah.
Say my name.
Batman.
Up next, we get to go to the reservoir. Bunch of reservoir raw dogs here, as they say.
Oh boy.
Before you get there, though, you see your first Varkalak, which is the giant werewolf monster.
I like the Varkalak a lot.
Yeah. I like sitting inside a building and taking pot shots until the fucker's dead.
Yeah.
I think that's what everyone kind of has to do, though. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I found the backflip button where you could do cool Matrix moves, and that's how I killed it.
I like that they're created because Moreau is... I'm going to do an experiment because my mom's going to love me more. So he just takes the first wolf he sees and just takes the blood and injects it in a lichen. And it works, to his credit, but... Yeah, that was one of the only things that he did that was successful. Moreau is...
he's a sad boy.
He's an extremely sad boy. He's the saddest of the boys. He is...
Rightfully so.
The most Lovecraftian, in that there's
Morrissey.
eyes all over the back of his body. His brain from the Kadu parasite has transformed into like take over his body.
He can't control this like transformation that he continuously has to go through, and before he goes through it, he fucking pukes his brains out
all the time.
Yeah, that sucks. That's like a terrible way to live.
I love the document when you find you're in Miranda's lab at the end of the game where she's describing all of the lords. For Moreau's,
least likely to be the vessel, I believe. Is
it was like
says.
IQ surprisingly low. That's what it says. You poor bastard. All right, what we know about Salvatore Moreau? Not much.
Italian.
Nautical tattoos hint he was a sailor or a fisherman. Due to his appearance, he lacks all sense of self-worth. His fleshy, eye-covered appendage on his back is actually his brain, and he watches romantic movies on his TV. That's all we really know about this guy. That, and he desperately wants his mother to love him, and he's worried that no one likes him. You poor, poor sack of shit.
Nobody really does like him.
Which makes me like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like you, Moreau.
Yeah, he's the Forrest Gump of Resident Evil 8.
In the puppet show, they call him the Slippery Man, which there's one episode where he slips and falls. I'm like, that's cute.
Moreau-kun.
Moreau-kun. Yeah. So this is an odd one where I feel you get the flask with your child right at the beginning, right? But then you have to worry about escaping.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I hate that the cutscene is automatic because I could sit there for an hour and watch Moreau watch romantic movies on TV to see what happens.
Yeah.
But they do cut it short. So yeah, you go down a windmill and essentially you spend the next hour trying to get back to the village. And this plays in the old video game trope of a sluice gate, which you see sluice gates in a lot of RPGs. But yeah, this is essentially what you're working on is just trying to, you get a boat and you get to the other side. You have to find a crank to get things power so you can open a sluice gate, drain the water. Moreau's a big fishy boy.
Yeah.
I do like that the crest for Moreau is a mermaid. They're like, we wanted to kind of contrast how cool mermaids look to what Moreau is.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a wise choice. I mean, mermaids are a symbol of like bounty and beauty on the sea. They're never like portents of disaster. It's usually like, oh, there's land nearby or something like that.
This is kind of a cool action sequence, though, when you have to... Something that has given me terror since I mean, for water scenes in games can always be scary because the thought of moving slow is terrifying. This reminds me of I think it was Arkham Asylum when you're running away from Killer Croc and you have to like run away on those like vanishing platforms. Something about water being around you, and if something's in the water, it can grab you, and like running over obstacles.
It's very scary.
It's very scary. And I really like the way this segment plays out where you have to try and navigate across this like don't touch the ground lava tag type scenario. And then also there's a sick zip line sequence at the end where he tries to jump up and grab you.
Yeah.
It's
that was
very
cool.
action movie in a fun way. How'd the Duke get out there?
Right? That's what I'm saying. And not only out there, but he's like upstairs. He's like upstairs in the windmill.
He's also up a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
Like
It's the Clydesdales.
But with the carriage, he's still there.
I know.
With the carriage. It's crazy.
yeah. What's
I
he
don't
up
think
to?
you're
It's got to be a ghost carriage or something.
Well, the carriage isn't up there. He has his own room. The carriage isn't up there, I don't
it's
think.
not? Okay.
Regardless, how to get up there without the carriage?
I don't know.
If you actually compare the models for like where Ethan's eye line is and how tall you know Ethan is, the Duke is very big. Yes. He's like Dimitrescu big.
Yeah.
Like he's a big boy.
Oh, yeah.
And you can shoot him. It's not easy, but they try and not let you shoot him. But you do shoot him, he's just like, oh, like he just laughs at the smoke and stuff. But he is definitely another figure. And he has traveled, or at least knows the merchant from Resident Evil 4, which is a fun line as a reference, but also it is canonical now that he knows that merchant.
Right.
What are you buying?
What are you doing in Spain? What was he doing in Romania? There's a whole...
Yep.
How do you know each other? I get it, you're a salesman, but like...
The Duke is so... maybe
Did
he
you
has-
meet at a convention?
Yeah, the Duke has supernatural abilities to just sell things to people. Like he has charisma 100 or something because Dimitrescu, yes, you can have a room in my castle. I won't fuck with you. Like everyone's like, yes, you can come in here. And he was told not to sell like newspapers to the village. And there's one person like, even the friendly Duke gave me some news from the outside world. And that the symbol for this pharmaceutical corporation looks like the one I saw in town. So the Duke is just dealing with everybody and somehow he gets away with it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Salvatore Moreau, though, a character I ultimately like quite a bit, and the boss fight is fairly fun.
Yes, it's interesting. You lead him down corridors and you wait. You
shoot, you dodge the acid rain.
acid rain. The acid rain is cool. Like there are little strips of yellow tape denoting the places that you can hide.
Yeah. You can set up mines. Essentially, he's also got the thing where there's a human appendage inside of the monster, which is what you're trying to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Much like Dimitrescu.
Yeah. It was an interesting fight. I did not find it challenging, but it was still fun.
I didn't necessarily find any of these boss fights
No.
challenging.
No.
But
No, I don't think so either. I'm trying to think if I died to any of them.
The big werewolf guy in that tight area, I found him to be a little difficult.
At the very opening of the game?
No.
The one that's coming up next.
Yes.
Okay, so after you leave Moreau's place, Heisenberg has put up signs literally all over the village, go this direction, because the game designers realized it'd be very hard to convince people to go to the stronghold area because it's kind of tucked away in a weird part.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Heisenberg talks to you on the TV at Moreau's place before you leave, and he's like, Ethan, I kind of like you. We should be friends.
Yeah.
And he wants to team up with Ethan because
He's planning that mutiny.
he wants to have a mutiny over Miranda for essentially controlling him and taking over his life, which is true. I can sympathize with him, but when he starts trying to use children, that's when Ethan draws the line. But Heisenberg is guiding you to the stronghold, and the stronghold is where the Lycans live. It is where they all kind of get together, and you don't, like, this is the last place you'd really want to go. Home of the werewolves. But on the way there, you can go off to the side, and you can go to Otto's Mill.
Yeah, I love this part of the game. I think it's really funny.
Yeah, it's a cool little design. It's the the Cannibal Storehouse is what they call it. You fight a mini boss there. Do you remember this?
I don't think so.
This might have been just out of your way. So there is an enemy type called the Urias is general, if you want to do it, because he is a boss type that is used 3 times. Well, no, the Urias is used twice, but then there's another one where if you revisit Donna Beneviento's grave later on, there's like, it's similar. It's a big dude with a giant like hammer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same enemy type, but they kind of are the same. But
Sure.
you go to this Otto's Mill off to the side, and there's a butcher who lives there with like a fuck ton of meat, and it's called the Cannibal Storehouse. So he was eating people, but yeah, you get to.
Yeah, I didn't do this.
It's a small section. It's really great though.
The boss fight isn't too bad either. He jumps.
But is this
around.
the so every time that this particular if I'm thinking of the right one, this particular enemy, is this the one that looks like Beast from Beauty and the Beast with a giant hammer?
I don't know if it's the same design as Urias or not. If they fight essentially the same, it might be slightly different. But it's you also see him outside of Donna's place if you revisit it to get more treasure. You need
Right.
to get the slab from the graveyard. But if you go back there and put it over the grave where Donna's possibly child Claudia is buried, then you can fight this other big dude there. But it's a tougher boss type, but at least that one outside of Donna's place suffers from the I don't like to go past this barrier, so you can sniper rifle them from a little further away, which is
It's kind of a bummer.
kind of a bummer. But yeah, you fight this dude there at Otto's Mill, and you get a lot of rewards. You get tons of meat, and then you also, this is the guy who was receiving newspapers from the Duke despite them being banned. But then you go into the Stronghold, which is a showcase of the shooting. It's a showcase of the gameplay as far as a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
You have some unique levels, which would be, it reminds me of just like Halo levels or something, like multiple like stories and different stairways and stuff and multiple approaches to situations, but they just throw a shitload of lichens at you of varying difficulties, like levels.
To be honest, this part really did kind of piss me off.
It didn't seem fun or
It's not
interesting. It just seemed
Annoying.
and
Because they keep coming.
it's not interesting. It's just a lot of enemies.
Yeah. And I don't know what kind of demographic they were trying to satisfy with this, because you can run out of ammo pretty quick in this area.
Well, I know the castle earlier was Call of Daddy, Call of Mommy. This is Call of Duty boys. This is just a shooter here, and
If it worked better as a shooter, I wouldn't have been so annoyed.
yeah, I don't know. It's not great, but you get to the end of the Stronghold, and Urias is. I want to say that's a unique boss, different from Otto's Mill, but Urias is the big hammer boy you fought earlier in the village, who beat you unless you were able to beat him, which is not easy to do the first time, but you can beat him.
Yeah.
But Urias was the leader of the village before everything started.
Oh,
Yep. So he's kind of like Mr. Mayor.
Urias Heep. Great band. Sorry.
Great band. Great band.
Great band.
You fight
Demons and
him.
Wizards. Great album.
Yeah. And after this, Heisenberg trusts you enough to welcome you into Heisenberg's factory. My first time playing this, I hated Heisenberg's factory.
I like the factory.
Really?
Yes.
I like that the filter changes
Yeah.
and it turns it into Resident Evil 4 where everything's brown again.
Yeah.
Right when you get to it, it's just like very.
Well,
Is it just the industrial
I think that's what they
aesthetic
were
that you
going
don't
for.
like?
Oh,
because at this point, you're able to. How do you you use the chalice to get down to Heisenberg's place? No. You get something to get down to Heisenberg's place. You take that raises up the bridge to get over to his factory. Whatever it was. You get it down there in the Stronghold, but Heisenberg invites you in his factory and he tries to say, hey, come be my friend. And then you say no, a propeller monster chases you away.
I fucking love that propeller monster.
it took me a second to figure out
what it was.
Well, not what it was, but to defeat him.
Yeah.
Like I was just running around, and every time like he burst into flames, then he would stop being in flames, and I was
You're
just
talking about that
wasting
specific
ammo.
boss fight,
Yeah.
or are you talking about the sections where you have to scripted run away from him?
Right. No, I'm talking about where you actually end up having to fight him.
Yeah.
No, you do complete the giant chalice to get to Heisenberg's factory.
Oh.
And you take the chalice, and that gets you over to the factory. The chalice is a megamycete regulator. This is why I take notes.
Interesting.
Carl Heisenberg, we don't know a lot about him. Genius in engineering. He can manipulate magnetic fields. He offers a team up. Sturm was originally his father that they wanted to, like, that he just was like
fuck.
operating on, but they took that
Who's
out.
Sturm?
Propeller monster.
Oh, okay.
What I do love, though, he does like hate him. Like Heisenberg hates him. He's like, he's so stupid. He cut his own arms off. It's like,
He's a propeller man.
Yeah.
He's a big propeller
he's a
man.
propeller man. What do you think was going to
I
happen?
also don't see the combat application of him technically, even as he fights you. The only reason that he's ever successful in really hurting you is because he gets you in tight spaces.
Right.
You send this thing out into a battle somewhere, and it's just literally.
This just seems like a liability. He's just destroying your place.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. Sturm is pretty dumb. This is just like the mad genius thought, could I do it rather than should I do it?
Right.
Can I just put a giant engine on this guy and
I really like Microsoft Flight Simulator, so
this is Dad, come here quick.
This is a dual seat Cessna.
You know, but I didn't really like the factory. It
Is it the map design?
It was too dark. It was a little confusing.
It is confusing.
And I found myself getting turned around, and I felt it was not fun or necessary. They could have better telegraphed where I was, or like the rooms a little bit, some way.
That's absolutely true.
I didn't mind it though. So the second time I played it, I liked it more. And the third time, once I kind of knew the layout, I appreciated it a little bit more, because it is fun that they're throwing new enemies at you. You meet the soldats, because it turns out Heisenberg has been making his own soldier army.
Which is cool.
Mechanical monsters with the Kadu parasite, right? They're created by replacing their hearts with a Kadu, and the muscles are simulated with electricity. All of the soldats are nearly completely brain dead.
Yeah.
So that's
which is why they're wearing those like apparatuses on their heads, right? To like control them essentially.
yeah.
Because once you shoot those off, they just kind of like,
Yeah.
what am I doing here?
The Kadu reanimates them, and then they're mostly mechanical to move them around.
Yeah.
But they're interesting, and I like the soldats start off as kind of scary enough, and then you meet the ones that like have two drills, and then you meet the flying ones, and you meet the ones that are just fucking tanks. And
The flying ones, that section where you're climbing up that silo-like portion.
yeah,
I found those guys so annoying. I had almost run out of ammo at that point, and I have to keep reminding myself that this isn't a shooter, and that a lot of the times you can just run past these motherfuckers.
The Duke was always in the right spot at the right time, and I would just buy ammo off of him if I needed it.
Isn't it limited if you buy it from the Duke, though?
You can only buy like 30 at a time, but you just immediately go right back in and buy more.
Are you kidding? Oh my God, my life could have been made so much easier. Because like Brad, I actually got lost in the
this
factory.
portion?
There were parts of this factory where I was banging my head against a wall trying to figure out what to do next. And I had killed all of these artificial soldiers in all of these areas, so I wasn't seeing new spawns of enemies. I was just combing through. And I found some cool secrets doing that, but I also didn't find it all that fun.
Did you guys know that the labyrinth puzzles that are located throughout the game,
Yuck.
where
Did
Can
you
we
do
all
any
just
of these?
agree?
I can agree,
The ball one?
Yeah.
I did all four. They're boring and stupid.
they're stupid.
I agree, but they give you a lot of money.
They give you a lot of money, but that's the only reason I did it.
Lore-wise, Norstein was a 19th century craftsman who was branded a heretic in his homeland and settled in the village. He creates a labyrinth, and within each labyrinth is the supposed crystallized remains of one of his 4 beloved wives.
Oh, yes. That's fucking cool.
I'm going to bury my
not
wives
cool.
in labyrinths. But also, if you get the ball, just put it I'm the guy who just would walk up to the top of the skee ball and put it in the 100. Put it in, yeah.
Well, Ethan, he's got to let loose once in a while.
Also, Ethan isn't the smartest guy necessarily.
No, he's really dumb, actually.
And he's like, okay, I just have to put it in the play the game.
Why do these balls keep not going in the hole?
And then the ball like falls off the maze. Why does this keep happening to me?
The only ball puzzle labyrinth that I had a problem with was the one in Heisenberg's factory because there are some weird drop-off
and
parts.
Stupid moving parts. It's not fun.
That one really sucks. But the other 3 are such a huge breeze and so easy that I had to stop and think about. It took me right out of it. I was like, why did the developers include this horse shit? Could this have just been a hidden chest?
It's just a mini game.
It's not even a good mini game. And someone had to focus test this shit.
If anything, I do like how they're kind of based on the levels that they're in. Like, I don't know, the design is fine. It could be make it a mobile game and sell more Resident Evil shit that way. I don't know. It could be.
I don't hate 3D puzzles.
And honestly, it might be better if it was a mobile game because you actually could like just hold it. Like
that's actually kind of sick. Yeah,
that could be cool and like tilt your phone. But
motion controls and whatnot. Yeah.
We mentioned the Sturm fight. We get to the very top. Heisenberg throws you down to the bottom. And this is when you run into Chris again.
And then you have the biggest exposition dump on the face of the planet.
Ethan's like, what's going on? I was like, God damn it, Ethan, you're out of your element. Okay. So it turns out Mia was Miranda. We had to kill her. We couldn't trust you to come here. Your baby's part mold. Miranda wants to use her to resurrect her baby. I don't know, Ethan. You probably shouldn't be here. I made a tank. Do you want it?
Yep.
And
it's got a chainsaw on it.
So wait, Chris, you've been in the basement making a tank. You don't trust me. You're just going to give me the tank?
Yeah, because I'm not going to fight that giant horse monster.
And who's going to do it? I'm going to go up there and kill him. Mm-hmm. Okay, Ethan.
Okay, I'll get in this big ass mech.
Here's this mech tank with wonky controls, which are only for this one sequence. This feels the most out of place out of anything in the whole game. I loved it. I didn't hate it.
I loved it.
But dude, this is straight up Resident Evil like 6 shenanigans to me.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm saying like this game encompasses every single one in some tiny way.
So when Heisenberg's talking shit to you and he can like move the metal as he's walking down it, I'm like, cool. He controls metal. He can just like make steps for himself. Mm-hmm. I get it. And then he turns into a giant metal monster with his body ripped apart. I don't know. Heisenberg fell apart for me, which I think there'd be a more interesting way for this boss fight. At least originally, you were gonna have to like knock down electrical towers on top of him. There would have been some other aspect. Then you're in a giant circular arena, just shooting a tank at. I don't know.
Electricity should have been his weakness because it's the thing that fucks with magnetism. So yeah.
Or if like Katana was there and said, use the element that brings life and you throw water on him.
If it weren't the easiest fucking boss fight in the world, maybe I would have had like a better time too.
Yeah.
Because it might as well have just been a scripted segment in my opinion, because I did not care for the tank controls at all. So I don't know.
I do like though, this is some, canon breaking moments here. Heisenberg, in the middle of the fight, calls Chris a boulder punching asshole. He refers to Chris Redfield as like that boulder punching asshole. How does he know?
I think everyone knows.
Okay, does Chris write in his memoir like I punched a boulder?
No, I'm sure
I was in a volcano and I had to punch a boulder.
I'm sure there's got to be a headline out there. Chris Redfield saves the world from Wesker by punching a boulder.
I don't think it's as literal as you guys are thinking. I think it's just maybe calling him like a boulder puncher means that he's a big dumb idiot.
No,
maybe
I think there has.
That's very specific to something that he has done, though.
Yeah, but I think it's meant to be a nod to the audience and not the actual people involved in the play.
Well, it's but what are you buying as a nod to the audience for them to do? But it also means that they met at some point. I don't know.
I don't think it means that at all.
Well, so here's the thing.
He says a friend of mine used to always say
if you haven't played this game or any of these other games other than this one, and he says, "What are you buying?" You would go, I don't know. I guess that's what I do here. And then he goes, that's something a friend of mine used to say, and then you'd be like, okay, cool. That's clearly for the people who have played Resident Evil 4.
It's not meant to be taken as anything.
This particular line where he says
guys.
that boulder punching asshole, if this is the first one that you played, you would be like, I don't.
That's not something people say.
Right.
I mean, it means you're, to me, like, I
think that Chris...
I could denote that it means, like, he's a big, dumb fucking idiot. Like a boulder puncher, it's, like, who punches a boulder? It's...
I don't know.
I mean, literally, we do know.
I like to imagine Chris at some point was bragging about it and someone made a headline out of it.
Exactly. He had to have.
You don't put...
How? No one was observing it.
No, but like Chris is at a bar and he's like, all right, so I punched a boulder. And someone's like...
Someone wrote a newspaper article about it?
Dude,
Man at bar describes the time he punched a boulder.
He saved the world.
That's how Captain America's legend got spread.
I don't think
by punching a boulder.
And especially
I
after
don't
Chris
think-
joined Umbrella, they were like pushing out like the Chris Redfield legend, probably. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you beat Heisenberg. Mother Miranda shows up and kills you. Or does she?
Well, she fucking Temple of Dooms you. Doesn't just kill you. She fucking
Kalima.
rips your...
Kalima.
She rips your fucking heart out.
Yeah.
You should be very dead, even if you can regenerate.
Yep.
And at this point, the story takes a very sharp turn, and all of a sudden you are Chris Redfield, who has been in the village all day. And it
that
just like,
boulder punching
they've just been like
asshole.
working on computers. Like, should we do anything? Not yet. We're just going to work on our computers at this part of the town and over there.
Daddy's got important work to do in this cave.
Daddy's writing emails. Just wait.
Just wait.
Just wait.
Just wait. We'll play Mario Kart later.
And you do feel how badass Chris is, though, because
They fucking juice you out.
you
in
get
this
like
game.
almost infinite ammo, and you get like assault rifles.
Yeah, it's fucking sick. Actually,
And
I
you-
liked
it's
this.
This is when
it's a power fantasy
Yeah.
going through the village you've been
Yeah.
struggling through, and you're just like mowing everything down.
This is when it turned into Call of Duty for me.
And even it looked like the enemies were afraid of you at some points. Like, oh yeah.
And Miranda at this point has gone full bonkers. She is letting the mold go crazy, taking over the entire village. There is shit going down everywhere. So you also get to use that like spotlight weapon where you have to like aim it somewhere to call on airstrikes.
Oh, yeah.
That's fucking fun.
Yeah, it's just
That's
a laser
from
pointer,
5.
essentially.
That's from 5?
There's a scene on a giant carrier that you actually have to summon like a laser guided
Airstrike.
it's not even an airstrike in that game. It's literally like a laser from outer space. In this one, it's an airstrike, but this is a nod to 5.
So you're
quite literally.
You call the airstrikes, and you have to go underground, and you have to fight Urias Stahler, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
That's Urias's older brother.
shit.
It's Mr. Mayer's older brother, canonically. This guy's protecting the Megamycete. You fight him by also calling in airstrikes because you're still exposed above. You can see it from above ground, but you go in there and you actually see the Megamycete, the giant big Kadoo monster, moldy boy. And you also find Miranda's workshop, which is where you get the big document dump. And Dom took his pants off.
Oh, yeah.
And you find Mia as well.
Yeah, she's just caged up. Which, did at any point anyone think she was dead?
I never thought she was dead.
I
didn't
never
either.
cared if she was dead.
Yeah, maybe that's what I thought.
Brad,
too.
you heartless.
Well,
cunt.
if she was dead or alive, I'm like, I don't really care. I was invested in the Rosemary story. This baby's crystallized into 4 vast little flask things or whatever. I'm
I'm not
like,
even sure how invested I was in the story proper. I think I might have. I'm like, oh, I get to visit some cool locations.
ooh, this one's a fish boy.
Yeah, like, oh, fish boys.
And Chris is like, Mia, I'm glad you're alive. I didn't really care, but I'm glad you're alive. And sorry, Ethan's dead. And she's like, I'm going to slow you down right there. Ethan's not dead.
He's special.
There's a lot you don't know about him.
Yeah, he's a special boy.
He's a man built of mushroom memories.
Turns out he's 30 years old.
Oh my fucking god!
Isn't he lovely?
Isn't he moldy? This is when you find out that you have a vision. Okay, so you're Ethan. You're having a vision where you're like,
I think
on,
this
like,
is the
Evelyn?
I think this is the Megamycete like knowledge chamber coming into like a vision essentially.
Yeah.
Where Evelyn's a part of it because she is the mold, and that's why you're able to have this vision with her.
But I think this is Evelyn's consciousness specifically, not the Megamycete from Europe.
I think
Right, but I feel like it's what's making it happen.
Yep, because I think it's actually like Evelyn's part of her reaching out to Ethan at this point, because she appears from 7, and she says, "You're dumb. You're so dumb. We
already knew that.
It's like you've got your hand cut off like 1,000 times. How did you not know you were dead?" And I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah,
because I was worried about this.
Yeah, I didn't know we had died. I just figured I just figured we were infected with the mold, and we were just infected.
That is also a decent explanation, but they wanted to give it more dramatic weight, I imagine.
Which is cool because he died, and I think it's the table scene is when they bring him back to life. And they fed him the mold through all that gross carcassy food.
It's and when you get to the top of the mansion in 7, and Jack shows up and beats the shit out of you, that's when you die.
Yeah.
Yep, right after you fight Mia upstairs. And then Jack
you're already
shows up.
weak anyway.
Right, but I think then they infect you with the mold.
Yeah, but that's like when you die and then you get infected.
Getting stapled back on, and that's when you gain consciousness at the same time. And then they're trying to feed you more mold through the gross carcassy food.
Yep. And somehow
it's a very good tie-in, I think.
And somehow his moldy semen still works later on too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's also what I like. Does he not jerk off? What does it look like when it comes out?
There's zombie semen.
Yeah. Is it still white or is it black? At that point, you think he'd look down.
It has wings, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way: if this mold can already rewrite DNA, then it can create its own version of its own DNA. So we're talking, it can just make a human at this point. I mean, Miranda's proof of that too.
Somehow, the Duke knows, and he picks up your body. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're just a moldy dude. You're fine. Like
You're just a moldy dude."
He's
we went over it, right? He senses the moldiness of him, right?
And he knows who he is. And then Ethan even says to him, like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Oh, I can't go into that right now. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
But the fact that he knows he's a moldy dude means something's going on with him. The Duke saves you. And the Duke does explain he doesn't really know what he is himself. Might just be a way to... It's a throwaway line. They'll worry about it later.
They'll bring him back because they knew people would love him.
But he's like, "Wow, you should go have a final boss fight with Mother Miranda. If you have to spend any money, spend all of it now. Sell everything, because it'll be fine." He actually has lines like that. We're like, "Well, this would be a good time to sell everything you don't want, huh?"
And I did.
Same.
And it's always tough to sell a gun you've upgraded, but if you have the better version of a shotgun, sell that motherfucker so you can buy more stuff.
I am a little peeved that some of the best items in the game, I felt like I should have been saving up for them throughout the game, because there are some
you don't
guns,
know though. You don't know.
You don't know, and I'm just like, I didn't know how the game was going to progress, because they had like upgraded guns in even Resident Evil 4.
I was gonna say,
but there weren't this many of them.
If you've played 4 and 5,
Yeah.
5 especially does that as well.
There was a few points where I was frustrated, but one thing you can do if you're trying to just get challenges completed, get a save point near the end of the game with as much money as you can, and then load that save point, sell everything you don't need, upgrade one gun, make a new save, and then go back to your other save. So it'll count as a challenge, like unlock all of this part of a gun, and then you can load your other save where you have more money
that's
and do
smart,
it with other weapons.
But I am not that invested.
I'm just saying, if you wanted to unlock more things, there are ways to do it, because some of the challenges to unlock infinite ammo for a gun, you have to have it fully upgraded. So you could fully upgrade one gun and then make a separate save. But I'm just talking semantics at this point, perhaps. But
You are a weird completionist. I do not understand.
about some things, you would not be happy with how I'm playing Dragon Ball Kakarot right now.
I would be fine, because I'm probably never going to play it.
If you knew what I was doing, though, you'd be like, oh, Bradley, come have a beer, my boy.
Honestly, I don't even want to know.
100% it?
No, but there's just enough of there where it's just like, I will do side quests. I will not do 100% completion. I don't do everything, but I'll do story stuff.
Sure.
But whatever on that. Ethan's last stand, Mother Miranda boss fight.
Awful boss fight.
I thought it was fine. It was fine.
It was untenable how boring it was. There was no actual gimmick to it. It was just like, just unleash your gun on her. That's it.
Well, what I liked about this was I was like, damn, this is going to be the hardest one, which isn't saying much.
No.
But once she pulls Rosemary out of that like moldy goo, she immediately goes, "Oh no, my power is leaving me," which basically means that Rosemary is already fucking her shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know what.
Rosemary's going to be the new Wesker, I hope.
Oh, I fucking
Rosemary's going to be
hope
the new
so.
main character.
Yeah, but at that point, even as a baby, she's draining all of Miranda's power, which makes that boss fight easier than it should
Possible. Possibly.
Right.
She turns into a spider. She gets mad. She attacks you, and you shoot her a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Turns into like a.
And then at the end, she's like, "I'll never let you live." And then there's like the shoot her in the face moment, which they always have like the end, like just shoot her
Press
one more
A to
time.
salute.
be. Right. Which I'm still kind of upset it wasn't a rocket launcher.
Or something
like
cool.
Chris didn't just
Or
freaking
even if it was
toss
just,
the rocket
or even if it was
launcher.
just like the only thing you have is your knife. And you like pull it out of your boot and you just stab her in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Just something like your weakest weapon, but like close range that would have been cool too. But
Yeah.
Ethan runs into Chris when he's carrying Rosemary, and Chris is like, "We got to get out of here." He's like, "I'm a moldy dude. Like, I'm almost 30 years mold now."
At this point, he's like,
Stop it.
He's like, he's falling apart, right? He's crystallizing.
Yeah, and it must be something to do with the Megamycete falling apart or whatever's going on, because his mold has finally decided, like, oh, I don't want to be around anymore.
Sure.
Yep. Thanos has done the snap. He is demolding, and so he gives Rosemary to Chris and says, "You got to go." Chris and Mia escape, and Mia's like, "Where's Ethan?" He's like, he's gone.
He sacrificed himself to keep you guys alive.
And
I
she's
think
like,
is what he
"You
says.
have purposely left him behind 3 times now. I don't trust you,
Yeah.
you motherfucker."
Yeah.
There's a cool moment, though, where the BSAA are also in the
BSAA.
village. BSAA.
Yeah. So no, for those of you who don't know who the BSAA is, do you guys know who they are?
Go ahead.
They're the company that Chris used to work for, and so they had a branch called the the Wolfhound Gang.
Yes.
That he's now a part of. So they had.
I
an
love their
off-
rap albums.
Right.
You gotta
They're-
fight.
They're an offshoot of the
Beastie Boys.
BSAA that he essentially took over and like kind of went rogue with, and then they
Well-
showed up at this.
And the BSAA, what are they sending in there, Dom?
They're sending in biohumanoids, bioweapons.
They're
basically zombies.
They're like soldier zombies, which are able
right,
to
which
use
is
guns.
essentially what Umbrella was trying to create to begin with, and BSAA was created to take Umbrella down. So now they've become what we're hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chris is again going, "Motherfucker, man. Every time I try and get out of this shit, it just keeps sucking me right back in."
So yeah, that was a tease for the next
Oh,
continuation of the story.
But it looks like they're bringing zombies back, which is cool, I guess. But
Ethan has the detonator. He blows it up. This should have killed all of the Megamycete. It should have killed Miranda. It should have killed himself. The village should be gone. Mm-hmm. That's what we understand. Cut to 10, 15 years later.
well, credits roll, right? And I do love these credits because it does have those like cool tarot card artwork.
Yeah, that's
things
wonderful.
of like what happened during the Spanish flu. And Sarah and I were watching it, going like, "Ooh, this is very topical," because
very
people
cool.
are getting like vaccines, and then the next like picture is like that person who just got the vaccine like turning into a werewolf.
there was like a tanned piece of poop. That was
But yeah, we were like, holy cow. Like this. I can't believe not only this game came out,
It's
but
strange.
also like Last of Us 2
strangely topical.
came out like during this era of what we're going through.
Animal
Very
Crossing.
odd. Yeah.
There's a re-release of a manga that came out over the past year or so, and it's called 20th Century Boys. Mm-hmm. And it is so eerily
What's happening?
what's happening.
Damn.
It literally takes place in this time period
Shit.
too.
So credits roll. You get to the end of the credits and it says the father's story is fucking over. Ethan's gone. Don't even worry about it. There's not like this miraculous like thing where he's going to come back, he's gone.
Yeah.
And they specifically are like, just don't even tweet us.
Is he?
Yep.
Keep going.
Yes, I think. But I also don't know.
You're going to play
Because
as
of this-
Rosemary.
Well,
Because of this next scene.
You see-
because of this next scene, I don't know.
you see Rosemary, who I looked at her character model earlier. She has a dope pair of Chuck Taylors. They're like off-brand Resident Evil ones, but very cool. Rosemary is riding a bus, and she's going to visit her father's grave. Whatever is in there, we don't know. But
Probably nothing.
there's somebody following her, some agent, and he's like, hurry up, we got to get out of here. And she's like, fuck you.
So wait, if we describe that she is now not a baby, she's like, how old do you guys think she
I'd
is?
say she's
16.
16, 17.
Okay.
She's carrying the Village of Shadows book, and she's wearing the jacket that Ethan wrapped her in. So she's still wearing her father's jacket, which is nice. The agent tries to like talk. She's like, we got to get out of here. Something's going on. And she's like, don't talk to me like that. I can do things even Chris isn't aware of. So she's got the moldy powers.
Oh, yeah.
And she's almost 16 years old now.
Well, he calls her Evelyn. That's why she gets pissed off.
Fuck you.
Yeah, he calls her Evelyn.
Yeah, and
like-
she's like, if you fucking call me that ever again, I swear to God, I'll fucking rape the shit out of you.
So
Oh, yeah.
they drive forward on the road, and a figure walks up to the vehicle.
Is it Chris? Is it Ethan?
Well,
Is it
It's
Lamy
not- it's not
Dimitrescu?
Ethan.
the Boundary Break video I watched, the character model
are you
who
gonna
walks
spoil
up to
this?
it.
This is a spoiler.
This isn't. I mean, this isn't a spoiler because it's just in the game. But you can see the character model who walks up to the car in Boundary Break. It's Ethan's character model walking up to the car.
But how do you know we haven't seen his face?
It's his character model. You can see what he's wearing. Like they can go
Does he have
over
a black
there.
face?
He actually has a face that's not blacked out. If you cut to, like
He technically has promotional art of him somewhere.
he's got like blonde hair.
You don't really see it. He looks like the quarter, like the linebacker, not the linebacker. He looks like the quarterback on a fucking high school football team.
Do you?
It's Ethan that's on the road.
Okay.
That's Lisa's character model.
So does she know that he's alive then?
I don't know.
Because
And
if
it
she
might-
does, why
they-
is she
may-
visiting his grave?
Maybe they just use the character model,
I think that's it.
but we don't know.
It could be anyone. I don't really, unless they make it
They
obvious.
could have used Moreau's character model. No one would have known the difference.
just
kidding.
hobbling creature, like, and it's just like, how are you still?
Do you
alive?
want to watch 50 First Dates with me?
I mean, with that being said, it could
I would
be
watch
it
that
could
with
be Ethan's character model, but it could be Mother Miranda.
Well,
Yeah.
because they do say the father's story's over, but
Right.
I don't know. There might be something going on.
I don't
with him
think
still.
they would. I don't know if that's like the kind of like misdirect that they would do. Like, hey, Ethan's gone now. We're not worrying about him, and then bring him back in the next one.
That seems silly and dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
It also lessens the story impact,
Agreed.
so it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
After you beat the game, you can unlock Mercenaries mode, which is fine. It's I played through some of it. It's just you get to go through some of the levels with unique challenges, and it's like enemy rush mode.
God bless. You know what? Keep stuff like that in games. Give people who really loved it more options.
I think
it's
that was a thing that they had in Resident Evil 5 that a lot of people liked
Yeah.
at the time.
Yep.
And it's fine. It's fine. DLC speculation at all?
Is there anything that you guys in particular would like to see?
I mean, maybe a DLC of what Chris was actually up to in the village while you were doing everything else.
Cool.
That could be cool. Uncle Baker.
Yeah, if we could get him back somehow.
It's not related. It's just him in the Ready to Rumble series. He's just trying to become a boxer, and it's I don't know. What else are you gonna do?
I would like
I think there
to
could be a
see-
prequel.
I would like to see the moment where Miranda's giving everybody the vaccine and everyone's just fucking turning into
I think they're going to avoid that because of politics.
well, that makes sense, but I think that
They got
that
jabbed. They got jabbed.
It would be cool to go back to the
5G.
village when it was in its quote unquote prime during the Spanish flu and watch everybody turn into.
That doesn't seem like something they do, though. It'd be cool,
know.
but they won't do it.
It's too much. They want to reuse assets.
It'll
They
be
wanna-
it'll be modern. It has to be a modern something or other. And Chris is the layup. Ethan is gone. So I don't know. What other characters? There's no other characters. I mean, you could do a prequel with a villager where things are starting to go bad like 2 weeks beforehand.
Right.
But you couldn't go back in the time, I don't think.
My guess is they'll probably bring Lady D back in some form or another.
I think I've got it.
The dagger guy, the guy who tried to assassinate her before, maybe.
Maybe you play as him.
If they wanted to have a series of like comics that describe the backgrounds of the four lords, that'd be cool. I'd like to read comics based on like who was Moreau, who was
They definitely have
Lady D doing
manga that is canon.
Lady D doing like jazz club stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'll read that.
Yeah.
I'll read that.
Just sitting in a fucking jazz club listening to her sing. Would
Just
be
5'10",
excellent
5'10"
DLC.
when she was normal, like
That's still
Yeah.
hot. That's a good
just
idea.
having her go through like growing pains again, like forget how to walk.
I want it to be about the Duke, but the Duke is now a Katamari, and you can just roll up all the enemies.
Katamari
Dukemasi.
Dukemasi, yeah. That is good.
That's my tops.
Yeah. I mean, all those sound great. I'm interested to see what they actually come out with because
I'm more anxious to see 9 now. What do you think it's going to be called? Because they're going to have IX as the thing to insert into.
I saw someone's speculation earlier, and it was Crix Redfield. Because there's not a lot of.
Oh my god!
they'll find something ridiculous. Remix.
Remake. What if the Nemesis was in Resident Evil 5 this time?
Honestly, it could be any fucking title, and I don't know if they're going to keep with this convention. I think they felt like they just got lucky by putting the 8 Roman numeral in there.
Well, they did.
Well,
they did it with this. Too.
I know.
Resident Evil 7.
I mean, it's a stretch so when you're taking your L's and making them into I's.
I believe that's true, but they do that in.
I mean, yeah. So then it could be anything really.
But
honestly, it's probably going to be the first letter of something, and the last one's going to be an X, and then when they'll just push them together.
Regardless of the title, more importantly, the story elements, the context. Rosemary is a teenager, and she will be a focal point of this game. You'll either be playing as her or someone protecting her, and she might have like partner abilities where she can mold stuff and help you out, or you're just trying to save her again.
I don't want partner characters.
So
It's not scary.
I mean, I'd like to see other characters brought back. I'd like to see Jill Valentine again.
Oh hell yeah!
I mean, Leon Kennedy again. There are opportunities for other characters to come back to the franchise because Chris is a little stale at this point. And fuck it, make Ada Wong have a big role or bring Shiva back. Do something
I would
unexpected.
fucking love that.
Yeah, it'd be all right.
I would love that. I would
Bring
love,
Albert Wesker back.
I mean, they should do that. They probably
Resident
will.
Evil Wesker. We quit trying it. There's no
Wesker.
Wixker.
Yeah, that's how you get the X in there.
Wixter.
I don't even care that it doesn't say 9 in my title.
I'll do whatever I want to.
Chris.
Or they just literally go, Resident Evil 9.
They might.
They even ditch the Roman numerals.
Yeah.
We got some questions from some fans here from Brian Barry Burton. Do you believe that Resident Evil 8 is a step forward or a step backwards from 7?
Forward, technically.
It depends on the context, really. I think it's a step backward from it being a horror genre, where when in 7 you are literally going around every corner as slow as possible because you know something's about to pop out. And
Because you don't want to go around the corner.
even if it is just a grandma in a wheelchair, that's still fucking scary.
I mean, there's a thing about 7 where you don't want to spend time with the characters, and there's a thing about 8 where you want to spend time with the characters. I want to be seeing what Dimitrescu is up to or what Moreau is doing. 7, I want to be as far away as fucking possible from every member of the Bryant family.
That's true.
Tonally, 8 is a step backwards, in my opinion. It's getting away from the horror, which I love so much about 7, but it's also pushing the Resident Evil story forwards,
right,
and bringing some of the gameplay and what people expect from the lore and the games. It's unifying the series, which I think is good too. And I don't like 8 as much as 7, but I do think it is a great fucking game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is the perfect length of a video game. And I think that a lot of games these days have intense troubles trying to figure out how to keep people's attention spans, how to keep it going. In that aspect alone, I think that the developers of this were extremely just on the mark. Because I never felt like I overstayed my welcome. And at the end of it, as I was reaching the end, I said, am I going to be satisfied like when I'm done with this? And I was like, yeah, I am. I am done with this.
And Tom paid for it.
And Tom fucking paid for it. And we all got to play this shit. I will buy this on the PS5 when I get one eventually. But
When it's got the full DLC options, once Uncle Baker
the
has his
complete
own
game
DLC.
of the year,
Yeah,
Dum
it'll
Dum
be
edition.
Seven has
$20
some weird DLC. One other question from Ryan. We have Ethan, Chris, or Leon. Fuck, marry, kill.
This is so easy that
Yeah,
it
I think
sucks.
we'll all have the same answer.
Well, I fuck Leon,
Yeah, definitely.
Hard.
Marry Chris and then kill
marry
Ethan.
Chris, and then kill Ethan. It's so logical that it hurts. Would you? Oh, Brad, are you going to be a contrarian?
I don't want to marry Chris.
Why?
I'd rather marry Ethan.
He has a very stable job. and
Ethan
probably
will
gets
go.
paid very
Ethan
well.
will go to the ends of the world to protect you. Whereas Chris, I don't trust anything that fucker does.
Not now, but if you'd played all the other
we're
games, maybe.
All I'm
you'd have
gonna
a different
say
opinion.
is we're all gonna fuck Leon.
Oh yeah,
It's
definitely.
the easiest.
Look at that
It's
hair.
So easy.
Oh
He's
my
such a
God.
hunk, man.
Bring Leon back.
Honestly, he's the star of the show.
I think that's why they couldn't put Ada in this game.
There's
Well,
like,
the fact that
Because everyone would have been like, "Why didn't you put Leon in it?"
well, the fact that
what if Leon was the Duke the whole time in disguise?
he's like, miss
What
me?
are you buying?
I told you he was my friend.
Surprise!
That's the only revelation from
Yeah,
that
Oh
game.
my god. So I do believe that Leon will be in the next one, if only for the fact that Rosemary's being protected by like a group, like a clandestine group.
Who is the best at protecting young women?
It's him.
It's Leon Kennedy.
Yes, it is.
My date
Sent
with the
it
president's
twice.
daughter.
And
Yes.
also Claire Redfield, which is Chris's sister. He protected her pretty much throughout the entirety of the second game.
Oh my God.
Yep. It's perfect.
Do y'all have any final thoughts on Resident Evil Village that you'd want to mention?
Play it. Just play it. It's fun.
Easily.
If you think you're going to get too scared, you're not. It's totally manageable.
I don't think it's like greatest of all time.
No.
But I do think, and I think you were right in saying easily top 5 of this year.
Yes.
I know that this year is probably not going to
Have a
bear
ton.
much fruit because of COVID.
Correct.
But even without COVID, still easily top 10. It would have been probably in my mind.
This is one of my favorite games of the year.
For sure.
Yeah.
It'll be showing up quite a bit, I think, even from Tom and our Game of the Year lists for Hair of the Dogcast. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other games I've played from this year. No, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for you to like back to back play it 3 times,
That
speaks
means something.
volumes.
But also, it's one of those things where it's amazing. I have like my new speedrunning podcast that I'm working on too, and it's just fun to break games down. Where if I had an infinite ammo assault rifle from Chris's sequence at the end on hard mode, and you don't have to worry about any ammo conservation, and you can just
movement.
like just movement and just knowing this is there, skip cutscenes. How fast can you go? And then you beat that in 4 hours. Like fuck it, Village of Shadows. I have the fully upgraded, powerful Magnum.
Right.
You can one shot almost any enemy except like the bigger guys. How fast can I go? They'll kill you fast if they get you, but it's I did beat it 3 times, but it was also I was just trying to see what the difference is and also how much I could master the game. Yeah, I beat it 3 times, and I thought about it today. I'm like, I have enough time. Should I just beat it over the course of 3 hours? Just kind of rush through it, but ultimately, I just wound up watching some YouTube videos and doing some extra research, which was good because I learned about the puppet show, which I did not know about.
That's cool.
Which the puppet show is fascinating.
Definitely go watch that, people. That's worth watching.
I can't include it on the podcast because it's only in Japanese and you need subtitles, and we're not going to do the voices. But if you have a chance, go to YouTube and check them out.
Yeah,
If
that's a
you-
Patreon exclusive.
Nah.
We are going to do a Doggies After Dark, and we're going to talk. I just wanted to talk about our thoughts about the movie that comes out later this year, Resident Evil movie that comes out in November.
Welcome to Raccoon City.
Also, I'm going to talk about Reverse and anime. We'll have a brief discussion about whatever Resident Evil stuff that's still out there. And if you wanted to support the podcast, how could they do that, Dom?
You could go to patreon.com and search for Hair of the Dogcast. We have several tiers. One of my favorite is the $3 tier, which unlocks literally everything for
Pretty much.
$3.
Most of everything, yeah.
Except for maybe us taking you out on the town, which is our top tier.
At the $10 tier, we'll let you choose a topic. And definitely, if you can support us on Patreon, it helps out a lot. Plus, you can also join our Discord, and we're on there all day. We have a great community, so many great people, and you can be in on the discussion. And also, you'll get access to our bonus shows, which there are sometimes part 2s of our Raw Dogs, and also Doggies After Dark, which is when we get drunker and Dylan tells scary stories, or we just play weird games at Tom's house. That one is a really good one too.
That one was fantastic.
Yeah.
You can also find us at hairofthedogcast@gmail.com.
If you have big, longer questions, fan mail, whatever you want.
We will hit you back up. If you hit us up, we got Hot Dogcast at Facebook and Instagram.
I don't know about it's Hair of the Dogcast on Instagram and Facebook. You're doing good though.
Am I
you're
doing
doing really good. You're doing really good.
I've been on this longer and I still can't do it.
On Twitter, we're at Hot Dogcast.
That's it.
And if you have any questions, thoughts, if you have any hot takes or disagreements on any of the things we've said about Resident Evil, we want to hear them, and we'd love to talk with you about them.
Did you like it? Did you hate it?
And we all agree.
Dissenting voices are good.
Wesker is still the best character in the franchise.
Oh yeah.
Ethan Winters would be terrible in Marvel vs. Capcom.
I don't know, guys. I like the deformed baby in the basement.
What if they had Baby in Marvel vs. Capcom?
Honestly, I just want an action figure of it.
Oh, I'm sure there's some
Terrifying.
weird sex toy.
Disgusting.
All right. So this
They
has
have
been
to be at least 18 minutes old.
This has been episode 49. Up next is episode 50, which will be the Kingdom Hearts Extravaganza Lore Bukkake Spectacular.
Oh my god. I am going to have to do research for this.
I don't know if you will, but I'm going to be planning
to have to.
some big things for this episode.
Okay.
So look forward to that. Look forward to more Hair the Dogcast. Look forward to more Raw Dogs. We love you all so much. If you see mold in your house, get rid of it or live forever. We don't know.
Break out the bleach. I mean, what if
Not where I thought you were going with that.
but seriously, like honestly, they should have just why didn't they have like bleach guns?
Turned into Splatoon 4.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Honestly, it's better than shooting them with bullets. What the fuck is that going to do?
Nothing.
They should have disinfected the town. Honestly, I think I just found a very big plot hole.
This is also a very
Is Mr.
funny COVID joke where everybody's just Clorox bleaching everything.
Just inject the bleach, you know? All right. On that
Stand
note,
out in the sun.
yeah, look out for werewolves, lichens.
But if you see a 9-foot tall vampire lady, sit on it.